Ants are known for their insane ability to work together to accomplish impossible tasks. So I was wondering what would happen if I put my 1,000 ant colony up against natural disasters. Would they actually be able to stop and survive them by working together? Well, that's exactly why I gathered up 1,000 ants. And I have the 5 coolest natural disasters planned, starting with the most iconic, an earthquake. Yup, ants, I went out and bought a realistic earthquake simulating platform that if I go and press this button, whatever on top starts to shake so much, which recreates a real earthquake. Oh, dang. But what I'll actually be putting on here is this 2D ant nest and filling it up with the 1,000 ants, of course. Basically, these ants will dig out tunnels along the glass like my last ant video, but throughout that process, the earthquake machine will lightly go off to gently collapse the tunnels while the ants are digging. That way, I can show you how ants evolve to survive earthquakes in the wild, and if they pass, they move on to the more and more interesting disasters. Now, as you could probably imagine, the ants wasted no time to get to work. Ants are so tiny, and while a single ant would basically be able to make no progress whatsoever, when you have a 1,000 ants, things are done at an insanely rapid pace as workers started picking up grains of sand along the glass so each tunnel could be formed. It's so cool to see time-lapse footage of these tunnels being made because they literally dug out this entire amount of sand in only like 6 hours. So I'm wondering what's going to happen to these tunnels when I turn on this earthquake machine. Now, I started by turning it on the least powerful setting. Okay, it's shaking super slowly. Now, it's my goal to make sure not a single ant is harmed in this video. I just want to show you how insanely smart they are and how they will overcome all these disasters in the wild. But even this very light shaking was definitely felt amongst the colony. The workers along the top area immediately knew something was off and they started frantically running around, as you can see. And when we take a look down under the nest where all the tunnels are, you can see those ants were acting similarly. Ants know during earthquakes, their tunnels have the chance to collapse, so all of them were being extremely careful. Very interestingly enough, in this room here, many of the ants were gathering up on the walls of the room to add an extra layer of support so it wouldn't collapse. But of course, when an earthquake happens in the wild, a part of the nest is bound to collapse, so it wasn't long until this happened. A bit of the sand here started to fall, completely blocking off this tunnel. I immediately turned off the machine to make sure the ants wouldn't be too stressed out while they had to commence a rescue mission. Because as you can see, while most of the ants were able to squeeze out, like this guy here, at least one ant was partially trapped in this collapsed tunnel. But amazingly, it looked as though one of the ants was already picking up some of the sand from the collapsed portion to clear it out. And yeah, literally so quickly, the ants excavated the entire collapsed tunnel, enough to where it was a perfectly functional area to walk through again. And funnily enough, some of the ants even started to walk in and slowly dig out the area where the sand had just collapsed from to make a new tunnel there. Wow, the ants just completed this natural disaster. They are so smart. But the natural disasters are designed to get more interesting as the video goes on. So next up, we got a sandstorm. Yes, ants, you heard that right, and this will be taking place in the separate desert enclosure. Yes, we need to have a separate tank, so that way I can make this sand blow around like crazy to replicate a real sandstorm. And along with this blow dryer, I've also got all these fans that clamp to the walls, and I can just set up to constantly blow the ants back. For the ants to be able to pass this disaster, they're gonna have to do something like grab onto each other's bodies or something to be able to push past this intense wind. And if they can make it to this canyon, climb up it, and make it to the Terra Green Leaf Bowl, then they're gonna get a ton of seeds, which is their favorite food. All right, let me just hook up this tubing like so, and the ants should start coming. Let's go. Yup, and this tubing is set up so once an ant enters the disaster, they can't get out. That way, we'll progressively get to see more and more teamwork as time goes on. Now, immediately, you could see these first ants just kind of thought this was a normal desert as they were walking through it, but quickly, I brought out my mini sandstorm fan, and I started to blow. Immediately, the ants started to feel the wind pressure pushing them back, and were suddenly not able to walk forward. Some even lost their grip and got pushed back a bit. And as more ants entered the desert, you could tell the sandstorm was keeping them all stuck to the left side of this enclosure. Yo, this little mini fan is fire for replicating a sandstorm. But no, this is where it gets interesting because now that they know a sandstorm is brewing, how are they gonna figure out how to get to these seeds? Well, let's see. While most ants kept trying to just walk forward and getting blown back, interestingly enough, many of the ants were gathering up in this back area here near the sticks. And many of them were actually starting to climb onto the sticks. You see, the fan doesn't doesn't really blow ants back if they're walking on sticks, since there's just so much of a better grip on there. But yeah, the second they climb off and stand on the sand again, they'll get blown back, as you can see. But the ants were starting to learn that they needed to stay on the sticks. So many started to gather up and march towards the right side where all the seeds were located. In fact, this ant was making it dangerously close to the seeds using the stick method. And well, he was able to make it to the little rock canyon and almost was there to the seeds.
Oh my gosh, this ant climbing right now is a beast. I am blowing this fan max speed on him and he is just stuck to this rock.
And as I let my guard down for literally 1 second, this dude made a dash for the seeds, literally running straight towards it, and well, he made it in. And he looked so happy to have gotten those seeds. He was just dancing around in there.
Yo, this ant is crazy. I didn't even have time to blow him back when he got up into this area.
Since the ants passed a disaster, I gathered them all up and put them back into the nest. And I gave them the food prize, which of course they started to take down into the nest over the next 5 minutes.
But ants, I'm not gonna lie, this natural disaster was kind of easy to pass. If we really want to learn about how ants survive, well, we gotta go to our third natural disaster, a flood.
Yup, and as you can see, I've built another custom tank where the flood is going to be getting simulated. I know there's no water yet, but you'll see how quickly that changes. For now, all you gotta know is if the ants make it all the way to this leaf ball, they'll once again get rewarded with tons more seeds.
These ants have no idea what's about to hit them. Let's connect this tubing so these guys can start walking in.
Quickly, the ants started to make their way in. But before the ants had any time at all to take in their surroundings, I had to activate the flood.
So to make the flood happen, I gotta go down here to this little bucket, plug it in, and then out the end of this tube. Oh yeah, water. Oh shoot, water's coming out. Okay, I just gotta carefully, move that over there. Oh, okay. There we go.
Similar to real life, floods will block off paths for ants while they're trying to travel, so this is exactly what that recreates. And the ants are gonna have to find a way to pass these gaps using the objects I've provided for them. As you can tell, the ants in here immediately were a little confused on what to do. Many were gathering up near the water edge, inspecting what the heck just happened. Some even fell into the water, but don't worry, any ant that falls in, I'll be rescuing and bringing back to the start so no ants get hurt. But also, many of the ants were actually sort of gathering around the objects I had placed in. And as I left my camera recording, I was extremely amazed by what I saw happen. Out of nowhere, this feather started to slightly move, and as I kept watching, it slowly started nudging around more and more. There must have been an ant underneath, and this ant was genuinely moving the feather closer and closer to the water until literally like magic, it was moved almost entirely in, and an ant crawled out right from underneath as soon as that happened. Dang, this guy must have been helping move it.
Yo, these ants are absolutely insane. I don't know what ant just moved this feather into the water, but dang, I mean, let's just see what they do.
It took a couple minutes, but eventually a couple more of the workers started to step onto the feather and started to walk across it to, of course, make it to our second platform. Now, unfortunately, the ants got to do the same exact thing here. Sorry, guys, I know you already did it once, but to my surprise, the ants literally wasted no time to start gathering around these feathers and directly in the area under them. And while it took a couple hours, eventually my camera caught this same exact thing happening. The feather slowly inched towards the water until, well, it had made a bridge across almost.
Let's go, ants. Now, I did help them a little bit by just moving the feather up onto this platform, but for the most part, they actually were moving those.
And yep, it didn't take long till our first worker stepped onto the final platform and climbed up into the leaf dish to claim their seeds.
All right, well done, little ant, and here is your guys' reward. Well, guys, if you want even better food, you're gonna have to complete this next natural disaster, which is a blizzard. And guys, this is gonna be happening in your nest. Be prepared.
Yup, this blizzard will be taking place inside of the ant nest, so we could study how ants handle the cold in the wild.
Now, obviously, I can't just go and dump a ton of snow on them. That would totally just freeze them all. Instead, I've actually got some ice cubes, which I'm gonna go and just plop on this which, as you can see, this makes a nice little makeshift snow that on my laser thermometer is approximately -Celsius degrees.
I started by sprinkling a super tiny amount of this ice on the ant nest to see how they'd initially react, and interestingly, well, not even a single ant cared at all. Yeah, this ice just melted completely into the sand. Since the ants weren't affected by that, I decided to up the amount of ice I put in, which should give us a reaction to how ants handle the cold in the wild. And this time, the ants were actually a bit more interested in the ice, with some of them even crawling on top of them. But the most fascinating thing I had noticed was how much the ants had started to slow down their movement since the start.
Thankfully, all the ants are doing just fine still, but if you look very closely, these ants for the most part have slowed down so much. I mean, look at how slowly some of them are moving.
Yup, this is one of ants' special abilities. Because in the winter, when it starts to snow and the temperature drops drastically, the ants are basically biologically built to start moving slower. That way, they can conserve as much energy as possible and go hide deeper underground.
So yeah, in the wild, they would dig even deeper and all the ants would relocate to under the nest. I don't want to put any ants at risk, so I'm going to very carefully take out all the pieces of ice so this place will warm back up to the proper temperature.
And once the tank was warmed back up, I'd say the ants are now ready for their final natural disaster, which this time is a zombie apocalypse.
And I'm not going to lie, this is probably going to be the most interesting to watch because I've got 3 different types of insects that, in a way, is going to represent a zombie apocalypse.
Now, our first insect prey is, well, zombie grasshoppers. Yes, these are grasshoppers that Petco sells that are literally like half decomposing and meant for feeding animals. And I'll be bringing them back to life and moving it in front of the ants to see what they do.
And to make the ants swarm this even more, I'm going to dip some of it in this brown sugar water. And yeah, this is going to make it super tasty. Without further ado, let's get this in here.
Now, immediately after dipping this in the nest, I started to do a really good, accurate job of moving this around to act like it was alive. And I think the ants were falling for it because you can see they quickly started to climb all over it. And if you also look closely, the ants were actually grabbing onto this thing with their insanely strong mandibles, and they were injecting their venomous stingers into it. Which is kind of unnecessary. This thing is already long gone, but I guess I'm just doing such a good job moving it around that they think it's actually a real zombie grasshopper.
Okay, you guys are doing a good job attacking this. I'm just gonna leave that in there for you while I get this second insect ready.
And yeah, they start to absolutely devour this grasshopper. But anyways, our second insect food is this. They're called wax worms, and they're a staple food for ants because of how squishy they are.
But yeah, they just look so weird. So that's why I'm putting them in the zombie apocalypse section of the video. Let's go ahead and add these guys in.
I decided to put this first wax worm on top of where all the ants were still located around that grasshopper. And well, the ants almost instantly recognized the prey, and amazingly, they knew exactly what to do. And they took this dude straight down into the tunnel system where it wouldn't even stand a chance to fight back.
Oh my gosh, that was like 3 seconds. And now this worm is literally nowhere to be seen. It's probably in the tunnel system. Dang, that's actually kind of impressive, ants.
So I dropped the other 2 wax worms inside, and once again, one of them instantly got pulled down into the tunnel system to get eaten, and this one started to get swarmed. After the ants had a good grasp of it, they literally brought it over to these hills in the back, which eventually the worm was then brought down one of the holes on that hill. It's so cool, because if you guys didn't even realize, the ants have turned these hills at the back into an extra place for more tunnels on the back, and we can literally see the worm down under these tunnels as the ants get their protein from eating it.
Wow, amazing job, ants. But our final zombie apocalypse food is flightless fruit flies. But I'm gonna be dumping so many on the ants, so it's like a proper zombie apocalypse movie with how many zombies there are, even though, yeah, these aren't zombies.
Yeah, these are flightless fruit flies, and if you didn't already know what they are, well, they're flies that can't fly. It's always so funny to me to say this in videos, because seriously, like, how are you a fly that can't fly? Come on, bro.
Okay, anyways, I got about 100 of these flies, as you can see. So, let's dump this zombie apocalypse on these ants. Oh yeah.
Now, as you can probably imagine, dumping this much prey on the ants activates their predator instincts a lot. Because instantly, so many of the ants started to become way more frantic. They started to run around like crazy to try and catch these little flies. Now, I mean, it's pretty obvious the ants aren't going to struggle with eating these flies because they're literally so much smaller. And quickly, I started to notice lots of the ants with these little flies in their mandibles. Yeah, I bet these are tasty.
Well, ants, you've literally survived floods, earthquakes, and so much more. So I'm gonna move these guys back.
For the build, you already know we're gonna be starting with some aqua soil, which is super important for making sure our plants grow nice and strong. But if you've seen my channel before, you know this soil can make the water extremely dark and dirty. So this time I've come prepared with a bunch of sand. We're gonna give this a nice clean coat on top of the soil, and in order to make it look not so flat, I made this little sand hill in the left corner. But now that we've got about 1 inch of soil and about 1/4 an inch of sand, we can start getting cool decorations in here. And first up, let's just focus on the the wood.
And yeah, I'm Terra Green, so we got some pretty good options for wood. In fact, in this closet, I think we got a lot of wood in here. Shoot, I forgot how much there was in here. This would have been useful for some past videos.
Anyways, I gathered them all up and brought it over to the mega tank. Since the wood will kind of be the base of everything, I really took a bit of time to find the exact pattern and types of wood that I liked most. And after a little while, I ended up deciding on this. I kind of liked how all the wood was in this one area, and hopefully by the end, it's all gonna look like tree trunks growing out of the water. But for now, I actually have to take the pieces of wood out and throw them in a bathtub.
Now, technically, I don't think we have to do this, but basically the thinking is if we let this soak up a bunch of water inside the wood, when we go and add the water inside of our fish tanks, the wood won't just like float to the top, because that's a problem sometimes I have. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave this here for a few hours.
After a couple hours, I went and put them back in the tank, added the price to the total, and now it's time to add in some rocks. We're gonna keep it simple, just a couple pretty big gray rocks scattered around that I bought from an aquarium store earlier, and I figured it'd be cool to kind of blend the gray pattern into the sand more, so I used a bunch of these tiny gray pebbles to do that to all the rocks around. And with that, I would say the base decorations of the enclosure are complete. Now we gotta do the DIY decorations.
And this is where it gets fun, because right in this area right there, I want to build a custom fish statue, because I don't really know why. I just think it'll be cool or something.
Now if you're wondering how I'm gonna do this, well, first of all, I set up a table next to the tank that I could work on, but then I got out this brick and some chisels. Yep, I'm gonna carve this brick into a fish sculpture. This probably isn't gonna go so well. But quickly before doing that, as you know, I back of the hammer, but it wasn't really effective. So I took the chisels out of their package and instead used the hammer to smack the back of it. And basically, I just did that over and over and over and over, very carefully, trying not to break it. I did make one mistake by accidentally breaking off a big piece of the base, but I quickly fixed it up until it was done.
Well, here it is. My first ever statue I sculpted out. And besides a few things I kind of messed up on it, I would say this belongs in the museums besides the greatest works of sculpts of art of ever. But yeah, anyways, let me just put this in right there and boom.
But I still kind of felt like something was missing. So I bought a very important addition, googly eyes.
There we go. That's what it was missing. If you think I should try building a statue again in a future video, let me know in the comment. And also, let me know what to build. Don't make it too hard though. I don't really want to build anything too hard.
Now for the next DIY decoration, let's make a custom aquarium background. You see, many people add these backdrops, which make the back of their aquariums blue, or they can have stone textures. But since it was so big, I actually routed my hose through my window. That way I could just turn on the faucet and it would fill up. And it only took about 15 minutes for it to fully fill up.
Now, I don't actually want to just only fill this up with water, because if I had put a fish in here right now, it would die.
You see, this is because fish poop, obviously. But in aquariums, the poop actually dissolves into the water, which over time, the fish will have to breathe, and obviously, poop water isn't good for the fish. So we need to do something called cycling, which will add bacteria that eats the poop before the fish breathes it. So I added in a couple products that did just that. Then I even sprinkled in a little bit of fish food, which will basically feed the bacteria I just added and make it stronger so it can break down the poop even better. But anyways, I had to wait a whole 12 days until the cycling was done.
So yeah, now you probably know why I don't show that every video, but in the meantime, I was able to go and pick up, the backdrop. Yeah, looks pretty good.
So I put that behind the tank, and now I would say we're ready for step 4, adding in the aquatic plants. So I quickly drove to the store to go buy some.
Okay, I'm at Petco, and I have a feeling I'm about to spend a lot of money. Because if you look over here at the plants, it's $11 for this tiny plant. And a medium-sized one is even more. And well, I need like 50 of these.
So I picked out all the ones I liked and bought them. I even ended up going to another pet store to buy all of their stock. So by the time I got home, I was absolutely stacked with aquarium plants.
If you're wondering, the total came out to $593. Yeah, that's kind of sad. But anyways, let's just get to planting them. Let's go.
First of all, I drained the cycled water into a tub to make it easier to plant. Then I went in and started to put the smaller plants in the front, the medium plants, in the middle, and the large plants in the back, of course. I even had a couple plants left over, so I started to scatter them along the wood to fill up the tank even more. Finally, I filled it back up with water, and by the end, this is what it looks like. And well, dang, I would say this is pretty good. Nice job, me. You did a good job building this. And now that the tank is complete, it's time to do the last thing. Stock it with fish. And oh boy, this is gonna be fun. Usually I buy my fish online, but this time I wanted to head to the biggest fish store in my state that will 100% have some insane species of fish. This is gonna be like a 4-hour drive, so let's go. Thankfully, you guys don't have to watch the whole 4 hours because of the magical power of editing. But anyways, here's the store.
Okay, well, I made it, but I'm not gonna lie, this place kind of looks small. Was this worth the 4-hour drive?
drive. But when I walked inside, I figured out that this was definitely worth driving 4 hours for, because look at this. They had like 7 of these aisles that were just absolutely stacked with the different fish species. There were so many options, and so many of the fish just looked so cool, and I wish I could buy them all, but I ended up choosing and buying just 4 different species, which I'm gonna keep a secret until I put them in the tank. All right, the goods have been gotten, and if you're wondering, the total came out to $500. But anyways, let's just go home. So I quickly drove the 4 hours back. All right, now it's time to add in the fish. Now I've got 4 different species that all have some sort of unique special ability, but for now, we got the first fish species right here. These are balloon mollies, and I've got 14 of them, which should fill up the tank pretty nicely. And after a little bit, they all swam out the net to start exploring around the tank. Instantly, they all kind of just grouped up, and they seemed like they were having an amazing time looking around their new home. Now, I did say that every fish I was gonna add has a special ability, and these guys, they have an ability. It's just not that special. You see, mollies like these guys will constantly just swim around the tank, sucking up sand or taking nips at the plants. And the reason they do this is because they're actually able to filter out microscopic little food particles from the sand and the leaves. And yeah, they basically just spend all day swimming around looking for something to eat. Anyways, fish number 2 is in here. These are hillstream loaches. And yeah, there's 5 of them in here, which you might not even be able to tell. And yeah, they definitely aren't your average fish species, but they're insanely cool, so I put them all inside the tank. Instantly, they swam down to the bottom because these loaches are bottom dwellers, which means they spend basically all their time just chilling on the floor. But what makes these cool is not only that they look like stingrays with those flaps coming out of the body, but those flaps actually have an important purpose. You see, hillstream loaches are able to suction their body to surfaces like the side of the glass by pressing their fins down. And this basically lets them just swim along the glass and eat up any sort of algae or biofilm that grows there. Technically, these guys can get almost all their food on their own by doing this. Man, I love these guys. They literally look like little aliens that'll suck your face. Yeah, they're pretty cool, but the third fish is even cooler. These are clouded archerfish, the biggest fish I'm gonna be adding. And I've shown archerfish in videos before, but these clouded ones are a bit different and they're gonna go well in the tank. But the thing is, right after adding them in, the mollies actually kind of started to surround them to inspect their new tank mates. I did carefully watch this to make sure no fights broke out, because these archerfish can be slightly aggressive at times. But after a couple minutes, the mollies stopped surrounding the archerfish and they started to swim around. Now you see, archerfish basically spend all their time at the top of the water, and they do this for a very special reason. That's because archerfish's special ability is they're able to spit a little stream out of the water into the air, specifically to knock types of bugs into the water so they can eat them. It's absolutely crazy, and I just had to try it with these guys, so I got out a cricket onto my hand and just kind of held it above the water. I held it there for a few minutes, and the closest one got was this archerfish, who was just sitting right under my hand. But I guess he couldn't see the cricket moving or anything, because he didn't even try to spit water at it. Well, shoot, none of the archerfish are trying to eat this thing right now, but I do actually have a video about a year ago I posted about the 7 weirdest fish, where I actually showed the archerfish shooting, and as you can see, it's super cool and super satisfying once it actually does. And yeah, they just basically gulp the cricket out the water once they land it in. It's very cool. But anyways, now it's time for the 4th and final fish species, which is right here, and in fact, it's actually not a fish at all. These are brine shrimp, and in fact, they're actually not meant to be kept as pets at all, because they actually live in salt water. But many aquarium owners will use these guys as a food source for their fish because they're very nutritious. And so I just had to try and feed some of my new fishies. So I poured the brine shrimp into a water gun, and yes, I did have to put them inside a water gun. I couldn't find any syringes or anything to suck them up with. But anyways, I started to just shoot the water gun into the water, and every time I shot it, you can see a few of these little white specks came out of the stream. These are the brine shrimp. And after I started to shoot the gun a little closer to some of the fish, at first you can tell they were kind of scared and probably thought I was trying to attack them or something. In fact, it took a couple minutes before I noticed the first fish starting to eat the shrimp. But oh boy, was this fish absolutely loving it. He was just going around gulping up shrimp after shrimp. I guess they're just super tasty to the fish, because over time, pretty much every fish ended up getting their fair share of this food. Well, all the fish have been put into this tank, and it's completely built up. So I would call this a... What could go wrong? Let's just buy this at the cart. So in this video, I'm gonna build it at home, show off everything about keeping a pet cow killer, which means yes, I am going to let it crawl on my arm. If it stings me, I am going to be in. So I got out the enclosure and a bunch of desert rocks to build its home. To start, I stacked each of the rocks in this pattern that would create a canyon look in here. Now the reason I bought these types of rocks is because they look like the rocks in real canyons. But yeah, because they look so realistic, these rocks were very expensive. Yes, that's actually how much they costed. We don't talk about that. You see, cow killers live in deserts in the wild, which sort of makes sense because all of the most deadly and painful animals live in the desert. Anyways, to finish the canyon look in this enclosure, I got some of this excavator sand stuff. You see, if I add this bowl of water to this tub of the sand and, you know, pour it in there like that, then just go and mix it up with my hand. And after a minute, it turns it into this clay substrate, which I can kind of make into a nice ball of, poop. Yes, it's kind of nasty. But basically, using this clay, I'm gonna go and stick it in between each of these rocks to kind of glue them together, and we're gonna have a nice completed canyon look in here. Anyways, after putting that all over the rocks and letting it dry, it ended up looking pretty good. But the next step to finishing this desert is, of course, to put some sand in here, because, you know, deserts, they have to have sand. But before putting the sand in, first I've got these big bags of black rocks, and apparently if I scatter this around the floor before putting the sand in, it should help absorb any extra moisture, and that'll prevent any mold from growing in this desert. Next up, I got out another container and filled it with some sand and some of this soil to make the desert substrate. Basically, the reason why I'm using this as the substrate is because when I put the plants and cactuses inside, this soil is going to provide a lot of nutrients, so they're able to grow nice and tall, and we get a fully fledged desert in here. So I went and poured that on top of all of the carbon and pushed it up against the rocks to make the desert floor. But as you can see, this doesn't really look like a desert because of how much dirt I added to that substrate, so I quickly poured a thin layer of just normal sand on top so it would look like a desert once again. Alright, this is already starting to look like a good cow killer enclosure, but to make it even better, it's time to add in some plants and decorations. First, for the decorations, and that basically just means wood and rocks, because that's pretty much all deserts have, to be honest. They're pretty boring. First of all, I put some of this spider wood around the tank randomly, and even used some of it to make little bridges across the canyons that the cow killer would be able to walk on. Then I got some of these longer sticks and put them on the side of the canyon to make it look like there were roots growing from it or something. Yeah, pretty cool. But I did end up getting two cool decorations, which are right here. The first of which is these little logs, which are called cholla wood. And the reason these are a cool decoration is because cholla, it's a cool word to say, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, and also they're good because they have all these little holes so the cow killer can run inside and then just hide and make a home in there. So yeah, that's good. And for the second cool decoration, I got a live scorpion. I'm just kidding. It's actually not a live scorpion. Oh, it's a plastic toy scorpion, but you know, it's a desert, so I think it'll fit pretty well. I'm just gonna put it right in this empty spot there. Take a look at that. Looks pretty deserty. Now for the plants. And as you know, not many things can live in the deserts since it's so dry. So our only options are succulents and cacti, which of course are able to absorb tons of water. But I don't have any of those types of plants. I don't know how to say it plural. So I picked out a nice selection. And while I didn't get as good of a deal as that comment said, it still only costed like $20 for all these plants, which is pretty good. Anyways, to plant these desert plants, I shook off all the excess dirt and planted just the roots in the sand. And in no time, it was done. But the final step to finishing the cow killer's home is insects. And I've got two different species of insects I want to put in here. First of all, you already know I've got springtails, the extremely tiny white creepy bug things. And yeah, there's just like 1,000 of them in here. All these tiny little white things moving. Those are all springtails. But these are extra important in a desert enclosure like this because every now and then I'm gonna have to go and spray each of the plants down and water them, and the springtails will make sure to eat up any extra mold that grows because of all the moisture. So yeah, they're pretty useful. Let's just dump these guys in here. Yeah, pretty good. And second of all, I've got these things, which are mealworms. But the real reason why I'm gonna put these guys in the enclosure is because I'm kind of interested to see if the cow killer's gonna go and just sting them, to be honest. I don't really know if the cow killer eats insects like this, but I guess I'm gonna figure out with you guys once we put them in here. Well, this desert enclosure is now complete. So I cut the tape and got the container out that supposedly the bug was inside. Okay, so this is not so promising. It's just a clear plastic container with a paper towel. Well, I guess let me just carefully take the lid off and okay, please, hopefully nothing jumps out at me. I very carefully used some tweezers to move the paper towel into another container. And then I carefully moved around that paper towel to try and reveal the cow killer. Oh, I think I see it in there. Wait, do you see that? Hold on, look at this. Oh, that's the cow killer. This may not look like it, but this thing right here is one of the most painful stinging insects, or not even insects, just animals in the entire world. But I couldn't just move it straight inside of the new enclosure because first I had to build the rest of it on so it wouldn't be able to escape. Because if it did, that would be really bad. Okay, well it's right here, so I'm just gonna risk it for the biscuit and pick it up super carefully. And drop it. Okay, you're in your new home. Enjoy it. Soon enough, the bug crawled out of its paper towel and started to explore around his new home. There's this insanely viral YouTube video where a guy named Coyote Peterson lets himself get stung by a cow killer. And based off of his reaction, you can tell this insect has one of the most painful stings in the entire world. Now, normally you would want to stay away from these things, but I just found a website that will sell you one as a pet. They say this thing's called a cow killer because its sting is powerful enough to kill a literal cow. Huh, what could go wrong? But considering the cow killer spent the last week in that shipping box, it's probably pretty hungry. So I wanted to get it fed right away. And when you search it on Google, it says the cow killers like to eat nectar, larvae, and adult insects. So I think first I'm gonna feed them some of this insect jelly food, which I usually feed to my crickets. But basically it should replicate the nectar that they find in flowers in the wild. So I opened up the pack of jelly and put it right in front of the cow killer. Within about a minute, it must have picked up the scent because it crawled right up to it and just stayed there looking like it was eating it. Yo, look at the cow killer. I just put its face straight up to the jelly and is just devouring it, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, he really just sat there for 20 whole minutes eating it, and I eventually just took the jelly away from him because I didn't want him to eat too much. Anyways, I want to see if this cow killer is going to eat the other stuff that Google said it would eat. And one of the things it said it would eat is adult insects. And if you remember, I did put mealworms in here. Let me see if I can find one. Here we go. There's just a mealworm in the sand right there. But I just want to bring this right over to the cow killer and see if it reacts if I just drop it right next to it. Let's see what happens here. Now, right away, the cow killer noticed the mealworm and went straight up to it. But while it even started to crawl on top of the mealworm, it didn't really seem to care at all that it was there. In fact, it kind of just put its mouth on the sand where the insect jelly was just sitting to try and suck up any of the last sugar that was there. So yeah, I guess they don't really eat insects. Called a cow killer because they say its sting is painful enough to be able to kill a literal cow.
What?
Yeah, so basically, the reason I brought you in today is because I just want you to film me, basically letting it crawl on me, because I was just thinking, you know, like I just want to bond with it.
That sounds like a really bad idea.
So first, I'm going to start by picking up its abdomen with these tweezers. Now, don't worry, this doesn't actually hurt the bug because it has a super strong abdomen. It's just basically like a skeleton. Oops, I dropped it. But eventually, I picked it up again and put it inside of the container. Okay, you got a good shot. So basically, I'm just going to start by putting this like this. I don't want to get it mad when it crawls out. I just want to let it crawl out itself.
And this will kill a cow.
Well, yeah, that's what they say, but I don't think it actually can. All I know is it's super painful. It didn't take long until the cow killer got to the edge of the container and then stepped onto my arm. Now we just hope and pray this doesn't sting me right now. So I don't want to make any sudden movements, because then it's going to know I'm bad and it's going to try to sting me. Now I had to let it stay on me for at least a minute. So in the meantime, I just tried to talk with my mom to distract me.
What is the purpose of this? You want to bond with your pet?
Yeah, because everyone bonds with their dog and stuff. I just want to bond with my cow killer. You see how its sting is just like crawling along me? It could accidentally sting me at any moment. At this point, it started to look more aggravated, and as soon as the timer hit 60 seconds, I put the container in front of it, hoping it would crawl in. But it ended up crawling around it onto the side of my arm, where it eventually fell off onto the table. So I quickly scooped it up back into its container. We got it. That was actually really nerve-wracking. I don't know if I was saying a lot. I was actually like, my heart was pounding like 200 beats a second. But now I can say I've been bonded with a cow killer.
What are you gonna name it?
The cow killer.
The cow killer.
That's a cool name. Now, I didn't get stung today, but I'm gonna have this pet for a while. So if you guys really want to see it, I honestly wouldn't be totally opposed to doing it. So if you want to see me get stung for a video, this is a $100,000 two-headed snake that literally has a different personality in each head. And I'll be showing you why this is the most expensive snake on Earth, along with a $25,000 largest snake in the world, all the way down to a literal $1 snake. Yes, so this first snake I was actually able to buy for only $1. Just from some guy on eBay saying he just wanted it gone. But this snake inside is looking extremely weird. I gotta get a closer look at this. So I opened up the container to reveal that my suspicions were correct. This thing looked extremely abnormal. It literally didn't have scales like a normal snake would, and in fact, it looked more like a mutant worm. But little did I know that these things have some of the scariest mouths out of any animal on Earth. Yo, and this thing is like slimy. Is this even a snake? Now, I was right to be suspicious, because when I went to scan a picture of this into Google, it told me that indeed it was not even a snake. It said that this is actually something called a giant Mexican Sicilian. Yo, and it's saying this thing has some of the craziest hunting abilities. Oh my gosh, I just got to test this. In order to see its special abilities, I quickly built this dude up a home. Google told me to use a bunch of moist dirt to make a deep floor area so the worm snake thing can dig around. Then I put some natural decorations around, and finally, these Sicilian creatures sometimes can be fully aquatic in the wild, but in captivity, all we need is this nice little water dish to fill its water needs.
Well, boy, let me get you in. Now, apparently, these things do have poisonous skin, which is why I'm using a snake hook. And well, now he's in there, let's see his special abilities he has.
Now, these guys' first special ability is, well, they love to dig in dirt, like I was saying earlier. You can see how quickly he just completely disappeared from sight. And well, while this guy settles into his new home, I just had to find some videos of this species hunting. And in this amazing video by Willipede, we could see how this Sicilian just slowly inches up to a mealworm, acting all innocent and stuff, but the second he gets within striking distance, it pounces onto the worm and instantly starts to drag it underground, where we can then see it finish off the mealworm down there. But the thing is, this Sicilian hunting is not even nearly the coolest thing in this video. Like, what does the world's longest snake even eat? Well, to find out, let's go to our next snake, which is 250 times more expensive.
And I specifically chose this species because it has an insanely unique special ability that I just have to test.
If you're wondering what species is inside this container, well, everyone, this is a Western hognose snake. And yep, it actually costed exactly $250. The prices in this video are not a lie. But anyways, these things are freaky because the patterns on their back almost look identical to the patterns on a rattlesnake. It has almost the same color too. But the main characteristic that makes this thing stand out is its nose. That, well, kind of makes it look like a hog, apparently, hence why they are called a hog-nosed snake. Pretty creative.
Now, anyways, this thing is actually a real snake, unlike the $1 one, but that means we gotta build it another enclosure. Oh yeah, that was a pretty cool transition. But anyways, this will let us show off its special ability.
Now for the floor, we want to use a material called snake aspen, which is perfect for our $250 snake because it's super easy to dig and burrow through, which yeah, in the wild, these guys apparently like to do to stay protected from the intense desert heat. Then we want to add tons of decorations like the snake hide so the snake can slither inside. And yeah, even though this enclosure looks pretty barren and empty, that's exactly what the snake species prefers, so it can slither around a ton.
So yeah, basically the reason I wanted to get this species is because they're the drama queens of the snake world. They basically put on this crazy show to scare off any predator that gets near them.
But yeah, this guy was just non-stop hissing at me if you listen closely. So I decided to pick him up with tweezers and moved him to the new enclosure.
Okay, there we go. Jeez Louise, you are a feisty fella, Mr. Snake. But the thing is, I didn't even get to show off its coolest special ability yet. Let me try and do that.
Unfortunately though, before I could show you that, Snake decided it was time to go for a little burrow. Yep, like I said earlier, this is something they do to hide from the intense desert heat. This is not their main ability though, but it's just kind of cool to see that they can do this like our first one.
And yes, I actually do have a heat lamp that will recreate the desert heat. I just don't have it set up right now because it makes it easier to film without the roof on.
Anyways, I dug up the snake so I could show you guys its special ability.
First of all, why don't you take a look at his head?
If you look very closely, this snake's head has actually gotten like 2 times as big as it was before. They're actually able to puff out their cheeks when a potential predator is nearby to mimic a rattlesnake's head shape. It's also sort of similar to how cobras make their neck come out to look bigger.
But the main thing the snake does to not get eaten is it actually plays dead.
So while the snake slithered to darkness so he would feel safe, take a look at this footage of when this guy went up to a wild Western hognose snake and he started to put his hands near it. Almost instantly, the snake decided to play dead, so it flipped on its back and started to give the funniest performance I've ever seen. And eventually, it just stopped moving completely, and when this dude went to pick it up, you could see how good of an actor it is. It's so funny too, because every time he would flip the snake right side up, it would just flip back upside down instantly. Yo, shout out to Nicole Berry, he's the one who uploaded this, and he has tons of other videos like this. Anyways, I quickly finished setting up everything in his tank and gave him a little water bowl too. As a reward for scaring it a little bit while I was moving it, I gave it a nice juicy mouse. Yeah, pretty cool to watch these guys eat. They'll eat about one of these a week during this stage of life, but remember guys, this video is just getting started. I have so many other questions, like do $100,000 two-headed snakes fight over their food? Well, we're about to find out. So next up, let's see what a $500 snake looks like.
Now, we're getting pricey, but it's for a very good reason, as you'll see. But yeah, this snake was kind of just shipped in this bag. I feel kind of bad for it. Let me get this out really quickly.
Inside of this bag is a special kind of snake called a Woma python. And he was not happy about being in that shipping bag. He kept trying to strike at me through the glass, but you could see how beautiful this species is with that striped tan and orange color.
Okay, the reason I got this guy for the $500 species is because they're known for being one of the friendliest snake species. But this guy has tried to strike at me a lot. But yeah, I guess he's just super stressed from the shipping.
Obviously, I don't want this guy to be stressed or angry at me, so I put this box over the top to give him some nice darkness, and I went and put him in a secluded and warm part of my house while I built his home. Now I'm just gonna speed run this build in order to not bore you guys, but yeah, it's basically the same as that last enclosure, only this time I put way more wood and branches so the python would have some area to climb over. And these guys can get big, so that's why this enclosure is pretty massive.
Anyways, I got the snake right here. Let's give a check on him. How are you doing in there? And okay. If you don't know what the brown stuff on the floor is, well, it might be poo. But no, that's actually a super good sign, because if you didn't know, when the snakes are in their shipping containers, they don't go to the bathroom at all. But the fact he's just let it all out means he feels a lot warmer and safer now, and that's good. I'm happy you're feeling a little bit better, buddy.
And to make sure he felt even safer, I went and moved him into the enclosure. I still didn't really feel comfortable enough to hold him based off how much he wanted me dead. But yeah, pretty simple stuff. And he went to go slither to safety. He was definitely starting to feel less stressed.
All right, the main reason I wanted to get the friendliest snake species in the world is because, as many of you know, my mom is like scared of all the pets I get. So I was thinking this was gonna help her cure her fear of snakes. But little is she gonna know when we try to feed it, this guy, he's not so friendly right now. All right, Mom, can you come in the garage? Hi, I just got a new pet to show you today.
Okay.
So why don't you come over here and just take a look in this tank and tell me what you see.
Oh my gosh. What kind of snake is this?
That's called a Woma python, and I wanted to get this species because it is the friendliest species in the world,
Yeah,
actually.
right. It looks like it's crazy, like it's gonna strike any second.
Yeah, he is kind of mad right now, but I want to cure your fear of snakes, basically. So I need you to feed it.
No.
All right, go ahead, stick it inside.
Shaking. All right, this is the first time you fed him too, right?
Yeah, he's super hungry. That's the main reason why he's so angry right now. All right, he's coming, he's coming. Come on, eat it. He looks hungry. You can see the hunger in his eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Are you scared right now?
Yeah, a little bit.
This is supposed to cure your fear, though. Make some mouse noises. Maybe you can trick him. Nice.
Yeah, this dude was taking a while to eat, but eventually we caught this.
Maybe if you just like, don't drop it, but like move.
Oh my god, dude, we're closing this now. I'm gonna get a replay of that to see exactly what just happened because it was scary.
But it looks like he's going to hide in his little hide, so I don't want to stress him out anymore if he's not that hungry. So yeah, thanks for trying to feed him though.
But don't worry, literally as soon as later that day, this snake was feeling way more comfortable and he finally started to eat. Let's go, this is gonna be a sick pet, but it's not even gonna be nearly as cool as our final 2 snakes. Yes sir, next up, we got a $25,000 largest snake in the world.
You see, this species is called giant reticulated pythons, and they are absurdly big, and if you can't already tell, I probably don't have enough space right here. I would literally have to transform my whole garage into an enclosure.
That's why instead, to be able to see and learn about a $25,000 snake, I hopped on a plane and flew across the country to this amazing reptile zoo that supposedly has one of these insane snakes.
Yo, what's up? I just traveled across the country because I heard you guys got some of the craziest snakes here. Is that true?
We do.
Oh my gosh, you gotta show me.
Okay, you wanna see him?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go.
So I followed her across the zoo, and this place was crazy. They had animals everywhere, including literal alligators.
Oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into?
But eventually, I got to this area here and waited while she brought out the $25,000 snake.
Oh my gosh, this thing is insane.
Yes, this is the giant reticulated python, an absolute beast of a snake. And honestly, I was kind of even scared to stand near it. This thing could easily take me out if it wanted to.
This is actually just kind of crazy to stand by. I can just touch it. Like, this is bigger than my hand. What? So how long can this species kind of get? I mean, like, is this like the longest species in the world?
Yeah, so they in the wild have been measured up to 30 feet.
Yep, imagine being outside and just seeing a snake over 30 feet long. I would instantly run away. But before we figure out the exact length of this specific snake, I wanted to try and hold it. But if you couldn't guess, it was insanely hard to do with just one hand because of this snake weighing a minimum of 150 pounds. But despite its massive size, you could tell the snake was being extremely friendly towards us and not biting us or anything. Very interesting.
So how long does it take for one of these snakes to get this long? Like,
It depends on how you feed them. But normally about 7 to 10 years, something like that.
so wow, this thing is 10 years old, and how small do they start? I mean, do you have like an egg or something? Like we can show how it hatched?
I actually do. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, let's go see
let's
that.
go see it.
So she brought me over here where they have tons of these trays full of eggs. Yeah, they keep them in these containers to make sure they have the perfect level of heat to hatch. Yeah, she showed me what one of them looked like, and it's just insane how a snake can hatch out of something like this, then eventually one day be this big. That's a massive size increase.
So yeah, what do they eat to get this big?
Well, I don't know if you're gonna want to hear it. They eat about a 10-pound rabbit.
So they just eat giant rabbits. Like, how big would it be? Like, can you show with your hands?
It'd be like it's a big size rabbit.
Oh,
Nah, so they really just slither around in the wild looking for innocent little rabbits, and then they pounce on it and absolutely devour it. Yeah, rest in peace to any rabbits that see snakes like this. But you see, what makes this species so good at hunting is they literally have these built-in heat sensors on their face. All of these tiny little holes on the upper lip of the python can track exactly where a live prey is, which basically just gives them wall hacks to see rabbits amongst tall, thick grass. And this snake, compared to everyday objects, is pretty cool because here it is next to a massive spray bottle. It is so much bigger. Then here it is next to a water bottle. Yep, pretty big. And of course, here it is next to the Terra Green snake plushie, which even though this awesome snake plushie is a whopping 36 inches long, even when this python is completely curled up, it kind of dwarfs the size of the plushie. But yeah, this thing curled up is approximately 56 inches long, but fully stretched out, this thing easily reaches over 20 feet.
this is so cool. But the craziest thing is I've heard this is not even your guys' rarest snake, is it?
Oh, nowhere near. Nowhere near.
Oh my gosh. Can you show
wanna
me?
see it?
Yeah. let's
Okay,
go
so
see
we're
it.
gonna go over here.
Yup, the $100,000 snake is also located at this reptile zoo. And guys, it's the two-headed snake. There's only a handful of two-headed snakes in existence, and this zoo doesn't only just have one or two. They have 3 two-headed snakes. So I waited here for her to bring out one for me to see.
Wow, wait, so this is the two-headed snake you guys have, right?
This is the two-headed snake.
Oh my gosh. Not gonna bite me, right?
Nah, I don't.
Oh!
Yep, literally instantly, this snake tried to bite me, which is kind of a surprise because this specific snake actually knows me. About a year ago, I visited the guy who originally hatched this snake, and I made a whole video about it. But this zoo literally bought it from him, and a lot has changed about this snake, and I'm gonna show you guys some very interesting stuff.
So the thing that's so interesting about these two-headed snakes is they have like 2 different personalities, is that right?
They can very much. There's usually a dominant and a non-dominant.
And we can see how that was instantly demonstrated with this left dominant head literally just pulling the right head along as it just sat there. But super interestingly, sometimes the two heads will almost fight in which direction they want to go, which causes the two-head snake to just sit there motionless, not moving at all. And here is some footage I recorded last year of this two-headed snake eating some mice. As you can see, both the heads struck at the mice at the same time, but only the left head was actually able to grab onto his mouse. And as that left head started to swallow, all of a sudden the right head decided to just grab on too, so now they were both eating the same mouse. But this could actually be bad for two-headed snakes, so the owner separated the heads, and he gave a separate mouse to the right head so they could both eat in peace. Pretty cool. Anyways, as you can see, this two-headed... I've seen videos of ants doing insane things to survive, like in this one where they built a boat out of their bodies to survive a flood, or in this one where they built a dangling bridge out of their bodies to attack a wasp nest. So I was wondering, if I put my 1,000 ants into obstacle courses, will they do similar things to complete them, or are my ants just not that smart? Well, I just spent hours gathering 1,000 ants out my old ant nest, so I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to put these guys up against their first ant obstacle. Obstacle number 1 is this thing. Basically, what we do is put some massive dead insect food at the bottom, and then we fill it with a bunch of sand to turn it into one of those 2D ant nests. Basically, we'll be able to watch the ants dig out all sorts of tunnel systems in here, and if they actually find the insect food I hit at the bottom, then they'll pass the obstacle and move on to the next obstacles that get harder and harder as the video goes on. All right, let's not waste any time, and well, let's just do this. Wow, that is very satisfying watching 1,000 ants fall in here. Okay. Now, of course, immediately, the ants all just started to try and climb the walls of the top area to try and escape. But surprisingly, many of the ants were already starting to dig down that center 2D part of the nest. Oh my gosh, this is happening so fast. Wait, is there already progress on the side of the tank? Oh, I just put these guys in literally like 45 seconds ago, and they've already dug like half an inch down in. What? Yep, and if you check out this time-lapse footage, you can see just how quickly they were getting work done. They literally work like mini drills drills to dig these tiny tunnels through the sand. But in reality, it's a tiring and grueling process where each individual grain of sand has to be picked up from a worker underground, brought all the way up to the surface through this little hole, and then dropped off at this pile of sand over here. Now, while I was recording this, it was actually getting pretty late in the day, so I decided to turn off the lights and came back the next day to see the progress made. And guys, the next day I came back to the ant nest looking like this. Yeah.
Bro, what? It's been literally like 8 hours. How did these ants build an entire intricate nest?
And not only were all these intricate tunnel systems made, but remember those dead insects I placed at the bottom as food? Well, it's safe to say that ants found those too, and it looks like the whole colony had swarmed them and had already started to devour them. And since they got to the insects, that technically means they passed this first obstacle. Congratulations, guys. It happened so fast, I literally didn't even capture that on camera.
Oh, but this next obstacle the ants are going up against will definitely be caught on camera, because the next obstacle is the tightrope of doom.
Yes, you heard that right. And if you're wondering what that is, well, it's this thing. Yup, the ants will have to walk across this extremely narrow tightrope over a pit filled with fire and flames.
Oh, I gotta put that out. Oh, yep, put that out. Oh, are you gonna go out?
No, I'm just kidding. That would be crazy. These are literally my pets. I would never do that. But I will be trapping the ants down here if they fall by lining the walls of this pit with this super slippery liquid stuff called Fluon. I know you can't really see this stuff since it's invisible, but basically when an ant tries to walk up on here now, it'll just slip off completely. Yeah, this stuff is super slippery.
And you guys are about to see why this challenge gets so interesting in a second. But if you look over at the 2D ant nest, you'll actually see I have a little hole here plugged up with some paper towels. And if you also look here, I got some tubing, meaning I can connect this to the obstacle. So yeah, let's just get this obstacle started. Come on, ants, let's get in here.
Immediately after plugging in the tubing, obviously ants noticed and started walking in. I mean, there's 1,000 ants. You can't even get away from them for a second. But that's what makes these obstacles fun, because it only took like 10 seconds till our first ant entered the tightrope of doom tank. Now, to pass this obstacle, the ants quite literally just need to get one of these pieces of insect legs back across the tightrope, which I think might be impossible, but let's see how they do. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the ants started off with some pretty lackluster performance because our first ants that made it to this tightrope didn't actually walk onto it. They kind of just walked around it on the corner of this platform where they just ended up just slipping off. Yeah, come on, guys. What are you doing? But we got 1,000 ants, so I was expecting at least one of these ants to eventually step onto this tightrope. But as tons more ants started to walk into this room, yeah, they kind of all just did the same exact thing. And the pit started to get absolutely filled up with tons of ants.
Come on, ants, what are you doing? No, I'm just kidding. I think this is actually my fault, and to make them walk across the tightrope, I just gotta fix something. Let me show you how to fix it.
Basically, what I did was first of all tape 2 extra pieces of string to the tightrope to make it a bit thicker so the ants would feel safer when they walked on it. And also, I rubbed this insect jelly food on the tightrope to make the bridge smell like jelly. And yeah, hopefully this will make them want to walk on it. Now, this worked exactly how I wanted it to, because within the first minute, our first workers actually started to walk onto the tightrope and explored it, just very slowly. But over time, more and more ants started to walk onto it, and it was actually kind of funny because sometimes the ants would literally just be hanging from each other's legs because there would just be way too many on the tightrope at the same time. Dang, these ants aren't very good at saving their friends. But it didn't take long for our first brave ant to actually make it to the end of this tightrope. That wasn't even half of the challenge, because now, if you remember, the ants actually got to pick up one of these insect legs and bring them back across the tightrope. And this ant clearly wasn't looking too interested in that, because yeah, he was just completely ignoring them. So I kept waiting until some more ants made it to the side by crossing the tightrope. And surprisingly, one of the ants that made it actually did seem interested in the legs, because he went up to one of them and actually started to bite it. But if you couldn't tell, this leg is kind of way too big for this worker to carry it all by himself. And for some reason, even after tons of ants made it onto this side, none of them came to help this poor worker move the leg. But this worker had a mission. He knew he needed to take a leg back to the colony, so what he did was he went up to one of the smaller insect legs that he could actually carry by himself, and he actually picked it up and started to walk. Yep, yeah, it wasn't super efficient or anything, but theoretically, he could pass this obstacle for the entire colony. colony if he played his cards right. And played his cards right, he did, because I'm not joking. He walked straight over to the tightrope, and he might have had an extremely close call where he almost fell off, but somehow he managed to save himself. And then the ant actually started to walk across the tightrope with an insect leg in his mouth.
Oh my gosh, guys. This is genuinely so insane. I am rooting for you, bro. I mean, you got a long way to go. But guys, the ants were doing so awful up to this point. You could see how many fell into the pit of doom. Bro, this dude, he's just an absolute killer.
Yup, literally none of the 1,000 ants decided to help this dude. He was doing this entirely solo. And so he kept on marching, completely ignoring any ants that were in his way. And this dude made it all the way to the end of the tightrope, where he then walked onto the platform to complete the obstacle. Oh my gosh, this ant is insane. Seriously, I gotta name this guy. I think I'm gonna name him Antony. And we're probably never gonna be able to find Antony again since all the ants look the same. But seriously, everyone spam some W's in the comments for Antony. That was so insane.
And since these guys beat the obstacle, I'm gonna give them the insect's legs as a prize. Thanks, Antony. Hopefully, you guys enjoy.
So I quickly moved all the fallen soldiers back to the 2D ant nest. And well, this colony is now ready for its third obstacle. And oh boy, am I excited for this one.
Because guys, these ants are gonna have to break into a vault. Yeah, like a robbery, basically.
Yup, you heard that right, a vault. For this obstacle, I literally built up a DIY bank vault from scratch out of paper that I knew the ants would probably be able to break into. You can see, it's pretty good. Sort of looks like a real vault. And anyways, it's cool because the door actually opens, so I could fill this bank vault with an absolutely insane amount of seeds. Yeah, I put so many seeds in here.
Because yeah, apparently seeds are this species of ants' favorite food, so they should absolutely swarm this thing. But I got this hot glue gun so I could seal this vault door shut, because I got to make this actually a kind of hard obstacle. So let me just go and put some glue on here. Oh yeah, just like that. All right, the vault is completely sealed shut with glue now, so let's see if these ants can actually get the seeds out of it. This is going to be very interesting to watch.
So yeah, I just put it in, and as you can imagine, the 1,000 ant colony immediately started to climb onto it. Especially when things are put into colonies' nests, they need to investigate it to make sure it's not a threat. And with this, I think they pretty much immediately knew it wasn't a threat, because none of them were biting it or anything. And actually, a lot of them were just using it as an opportunity to climb out of the enclosure. But that's not good. But yeah, the vault right now is pretty sealed shut, and I don't even think the ants knew that there were seeds inside of here. So nothing really eventful happened, to be honest.
Okay, this is not exactly going to plan. I'm just gonna take this box and put it in there. Oh, hopefully I didn't crush any ants. Okay, and then let me scoop up all the ants that fell off.
So yeah, I got all those fallen soldiers back into the nest, of course.
Well, that didn't exactly work so well, but I kind of knew it wasn't gonna work so well, so that's why I came equipped with this stuff. See, basically, it's a cup of water and a big cup of sugar, which I'm gonna pour into the water. Then basically, I can mix the water and sugar around to make sugar water, which ants love the smell and taste of. And using this paintbrush, I actually just wanna go and paint our vault with it. And basically, this will make the vault not only taste like sugar, but it will also just make it kind of soggy since it's made out of paper, and it should make it able so the ants can chew through it and stuff and get to the seeds.
So yeah, I absolutely just soaked this vault in the sugar water, and without wasting any time, I got this thing in the nest. All right, ants, let's see how you do this time. And oh boy, were things a lot more interesting this time around, because right away, tons more ants were way more interested. You can see how after the ants would walk onto the vault, they would just completely stand still. That's because they were putting their mouth up to the paper and were just completely licking all the sugar off the paper. Yeah, this is not really what I had in mind. I thought this was gonna make them want to completely chew through the paper, not lick it. But yeah, so many ants got their fair share of the sugar. However, I didn't see a single ant even trying to find or even acknowledge that there were seeds inside of here. Well, that was until this moment. When you see this hole here, well, just out of nowhere, an ant just came up to it and walked into the hole. And yeah, there was just an ant inside of this vault with the absolute jackpot of seeds. I don't know how this hole got here. I guess maybe the sogginess from the sugar water made it droop or something, but wow. That is crazy.
Oh my gosh, wait, I think the ants just completed the obstacle. Let me get all the excess ants off this safe real quick.
And yeah, once the extra ants had fallen off, I cut open the vault to see if that ant had actually made it inside. And as you can see, he absolutely had made it inside. Oh my gosh, bro, your colony has no clue how much you just clutched up for them.
Wait, imagine if this is Antony, that same ant that beat the obstacle course. That would be insane, but I mean, I don't know if this is the same ant. But anyways, W ant.
So yeah, I just went and poured the entire vault vault's loot pile onto the 2D ant nest, and well, the ants have been rewarded with the absolute motherload of food up to this point. But I've been saving the craziest obstacle for last to really find out how smart my ant colony actually is. And this final one is the floor is lava.
Yup, the floor is lava, and thankfully I already have it built right here.
This is the final obstacle, and you may be wondering, bruh, Darraggreen, where's the lava? Well, the lava is these strips of red on the floor right here. You see, these are actually extremely sticky pieces of tape, and if the ants try to walk on them, well, they're gonna get stuck, of course. So if the ants want to get to the strawberries that I put at the end of the obstacle, they're gonna have to use one of the 3 tools I provided for them to figure out how they can maybe cross this lava. Or maybe they'll make a crazy bridge out of their bodies to cross it. Who knows?
Anyways, I wanted to make sure most of these guys actually participated, so I spent the past few hours individually picking up each of the ants from the ant nest and transporting them into this container, or at least as many as I can get. The rest are kind of under there. That way, they could be easily transported. But before pouring
And I just dumped the ants straight in. If you can't tell, I actually changed the design of the obstacle a little bit, because if you remember that red tape, well, I actually replaced it with an even stickier and thicker kind of tape to make sure these ants wouldn't be able to just walk across. Anyways, let's see how they do. As you could probably guess, lots of the ants immediately went up to the tape and partially got stuck in the front. But don't worry guys, I'll be watching the ants throughout this obstacle, and any of the ants that looks like they get super stuck in the middle, I'll be picking up with these tweezers and moving back at the start so they don't get stuck in here permanently and hurt. Anyways, to actually cross this tape, like I said earlier, I gave these ants different tools, like a pile of dirt, some pieces of string, and even some wood chips to see if they'd be smart enough to actually use these things to their advantage to cross the piece of tape. And while it may look like the ants are not using the tools here, if you look very closely down here near the dirt, they've actually already started to push this pile of dirt onto the tape to make a little bridge that they can walk onto. If they keep building up this bridge, they would actually be able to cross this with no problem whatsoever. But right when I was filming this, I actually noticed that an ant had actually been walking across the tape and somehow had made it extremely close to the end. Yeah, I have no clue how this ant just managed to ignore the stickiness of this tape. I guess his legs were just extremely strong or something, because he got all the way to the end where he had a bit of trouble pulling himself off the tape, but eventually he was able to do it, and wow. Well, this ant just technically passed the obstacle.
Oh my gosh, bro. I didn't even see this ant, but I mean, he just passed the obstacle. I guess that's fair and square. Good job, bro. Why is it the past 3 obstacles, it's been a single ant that's clutched it up for the entire colony? But anyways, I gotta get all these guys off the tape so they aren't hurt at all.
So yeah, I got them all picked up into a container and transported them back to their nest safely.
All right, because you guys beat it, I'm gonna give you this piece of the strawberry. And because the ants beat all of the obstacles I gave them, I'm gonna be giving them this brand new ant nest. Basically, it's just a bit more compact and it has a cool outworld on the top. And I think it's just a bit more optimal for them. So I'm gonna go and move them in there. Anyways, hopefully you guys were entertained and learned something new about ants.
I'm just kidding. What I actually did was went onto Facebook Marketplace where I could buy a bunch of stuff for super cheap. Okay, so I've searched up terrarium on Facebook Marketplace and I'm not really finding anything good for under $10. I mean, seriously, look at these. This one's $40. Bro, who built this? This thing's trash. It literally just has grass and leaves. $40, that's a scam. Okay, instead I'm gonna search up jar because I might be able to find something I can use. And oh yeah, these are more in my budget. Okay, this one might work well. 3 sort of new jars. They're apparently in excellent condition, but one has a giant crack in it. I don't know if that's excellent. Yeah, I mean, I could probably make like leaf scott out of this and stuff. I don't know. Let me just go buy it. Okay, so I met up with the guy and gave him the $5 bill, you know. And of course, now I got the jars. Oh, that did not sound good. And because I had multiple jars, I got the idea to build a different biome in each one. Like, what if in this one I built a forest, this one I built a desert, and then in this one I built a lake? I mean, if I built a lake, it'd be more of an aquarium than a terrarium, but whatever. So that's what I planned on doing. And then at the end, I'd be able to compare the $10 biomes with the $1,000 ecosystem to see which was better. Okay, so I'm gonna create this first jar into a forest, and to do that I'm gonna need some basic materials like dirt, wood, rocks, and plants. The problem is though that we only have $5 to turn all of these jars into terrariums, and literally just a bag of dirt is over $10. Ooh, that's not good. But thankfully for me, dirt is actually free if we just, you know, walk outside. Oh yeah, look at this quality dirt right here. Let me just, dig this up. All right, the dirt has been acquired. But before putting it in, I have to make a drainage layer in this jar first because that's just what terrariums need. But thankfully, that can be done easily again by just walking outside and picking up some rocks. All right, I put the rocks in, but now typically you'd use some sort of material like this window screen to separate the drainage layer from the substrate. But of course, window screen is definitely not in our budget, so we're gonna have to think of another alternative. So I did some searching around outside, hoping I could find something. Okay, I guess there's some plastic here. Wait, this could actually work. Has some like Chinese on it. I don't know what this says, but okay, wait, let me see if I can use this. And as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's terrarium substrate separator. I poked some holes in the plastic to allow water to pass through, and that let me put the dirt on top. And there we go, the base of the forest terrarium is finished. But obviously this is not a forest, it's just dirt. So in order to make it a forest, I needed to add in some decorations, which just meant I had to go outside again and pick up more stuff. Yeah, that's kind of what this entire forest build is. As you can see, we got all sorts of supplies, which is gonna allow me to customize my terrarium to my artistic liking. And wait, look at this plant here. The roots on this one looks like it's growing some sort of vegetable or something. Wait, is this like a radish or a green onion? Wait, does it taste like one? Oh, it does not taste like one. Anyways, I put the decorations in the build. All right, now time for the grand reveal of this forest. Let's move this down and oh yeah, look at this. Okay, maybe it's not that cool, but at least it looks pretty good for being basically free. Now, there's just one more thing to do to finish this little forest, and that's to add some life into it. Now, it'd be cool to add like a frog or something in here, but yeah, this is probably not big enough for a frog, so I'm gonna have to settle for something I find outside again. Now, to be honest, I'll just settle for like an earthworm or something. Oh, wait, I see something right there. Wait, do you see that? Oh! Wait, bro, there's a cricket. Okay, wait, this is even better than a worm. So I picked up the cricket and put him into his new home. All right, and the cricket is in there. Can you see it in there? It's kind of hard to see, but it's right there. Bruh. The forest was now complete, and to finish off the $10 builds, I still needed to make the desert and a lake, which will be a lot more interesting to build, since I won't be able to just find the materials right outside my house. But before building those, the package for my $1,000 terrarium just arrived, so I'm gonna start building that first. Okay, this is pretty heavy, but I think I got it. There we go, that is the box, you know? So let me open this up, and I swear, if this thing is not already put together, I'm gonna be very mad because I do not want to build this from scratch. Oh no, I don't think this is put together. Yeah, it's definitely not. There's just glass panes here. Okay, there goes 2 hours probably. 2 hours later. And along with the tank, I also did buy a bunch of supplies, about $395.87 worth of supplies, which are right here. But to start off the build, we basically got to get rid of all of this stuff, so, because the first step for building this terrarium is to put this little water filter chamber thing that I built into it. For this $1,000 build, I'm going all out, and I'm making an entire chunk of the rainforest with a working river running through it. And this will let me filter the water and allow fish to live in there. So to build this thing, I first sprayed the entire back of the glass with some silicone, which will allow me to put tree branches sticking out on it. To keep the wood in place, I used some spray foam to do some more spraying. And finally, I stuck a bunch of dirt all along the back so it looked more natural. All right, look at this thing. This thing is actually enormous. This is like as tall as me. And don't worry about this being ugly right now, because later on, I'm gonna add a ton of plants here to make this actually look good. But for now, we're gonna focus on the floor area, because right now, I'm gonna make this into a river. To make it, I first glued in a piece of foam to easily separate the land and water areas. Then I got a ton of rocks and wood to create a natural looking underwater environment, because you know, there's usually rocks and wood underwater. All right, there we go. That is done now. So let's finish that underwater area look and add some sand in, because you know, you need sand to make an underwater section. Okay, now that the floor and the water portion's done, let's get to the floor and the land portion. For this, I'm gonna be mostly using these Leica balls. Honestly, these kind of look like cocoa pebbles, but I think I learned my lesson. Now, to complete this floor area, I need to put a layer of substrate on top of it. But before doing that, I used this pump to do some plumbing and create a tube that will allow the river to actually have a working water flow. Then finally, I added the dirt on top to finish the floor area. All right, now there's just 2 more things to finish this build. One to add water, water and 2 to add plants. And thankfully I can do that first one pretty quickly, just like this. So now I want to test if the water flow actually works to see if we can actually turn this into a river. All right, so let me plug this thing in and this better work. I spent like the past 2 hours doing this and oh, okay, so it's working, but the water flow is very extreme. That's kind of messing up the sand. Okay, this is just making the water very dirty right now. Can you stop doing that? So to fix the issue, I got some tape to try and make the end of the tube more narrow. Oh, nah. Oh, nope, that is not working. Oh, no. Taping it does not work. Oh my god. Now in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have been doing that right next to the power strip, but thankfully my house didn't explode. Anyways, eventually I got the water flow working and the $1,000 terrarium was starting to come together pretty nicely. But since things aren't going too well for this right now, I'm gonna take a break and just move on to the $10 terrariums. All right, so we're moving from this beautiful $1,000 build over back to the minuscule $10 builds. And as you know, the forest build is already done, so we're moving on to the desert build now. Now for the drainage layer of this, we can do the same thing we did in the forest and just go get some rocks. But now this is where things get tricky because I can't really just go outside and get sand because I basically live in the middle of not a desert. You know, there's trees outside and stuff. So that means the only way I can get some sand is if I buy it. I don't know if there's actually gonna be any sand under $5 that I could buy. Let me just search it up anyways, and oh, that's not good. And wait, $2 for sand. Oh my gosh, it's not even lying, $3 for sand. Okay, that is actually so good. I can actually get some sand now. Well, I guess let me go to Betco. I'll be there soon. Thankfully, it was still in stock when I got there, so I bought that, and then I poured it in the jar. Now, similar to the forest terrarium that we built earlier, we're gonna need plants for this desert one. Now, ideally, we get a nice cactus in this thing. I think that'd look pretty cool. The only problem is, as you know, our budget is lacking a little bit. Okay, well, maybe there's a chance I can buy a cactus for super cheap. Cactus near me. And yeah, $1,000, $200 for a cactus. Wait, there's actually one for $1. Wait, what? Okay, wait, this is actually good. I can buy a cactus for $1. That fits in our budget. It's at this store called Michael's. I've never even heard of that, but $1, I guess I'm going to Michael's. So I went there, and they had some absolutely fantastical cacti to choose from. So I got myself this. This massive cactus was only $1. Dang, I've like literally never heard of Michael's. There was no cars in the parking lot. Guys, you need to go to Michael's. They got some fantastical deals there. All right, let's get this in here. I'm gonna dig out a little hole with my golden spoon. Don't ask why it's golden. And so I added the cactus in, and the desert build was now complete. But to fully finish the terrarium, I once again needed to add life into it. And since I wouldn't be able to buy anything with my 71-cent budget, I got the idea to put a worm in there from outside to act as a sandworm. Because, you know, I didn't really have any other options. All right, let's put the sandworm in his home, and there we go. The desert build is now finished. I hope you enjoy your new life, little boy. Okay, so I was planning on moving straight to building the lake right after this. But you remember how I got this cactus at Michael's? Or, Michelle? I don't remember what it was called, but you know how I got this cactus? Well, while I was there, I also got, pretty much all the plants we're gonna need for this $1,000 build for a pretty good price. It barely even made a dent in our budget. So I'm gonna go and put these in right now, I guess. And, oh, shoot. Oh, that is not good. While I was putting all that spray foam on the back, I was supposed to also put these little plant pots there, but I forgot, so this is gonna be a lot harder to put the plants in the bin. But thankfully, I'm a genius, and I used my hot glue gun to glue all the plant pots on the back of the wall. Then I was able to put all the plants in the pots. I even got some aquatic plants to put in the water area to fully round off everything in this $1,000 build. Now, some people may say these very obviously black pots put all around the terrarium is ugly, and well, to those people, I say that you are probably right. This is pretty ugly. But I guess this is the downside of the $1,000 build. It's too complex to make. Well, anyways, to complete this terrarium, I needed to add life into it, which I was gonna do by adding in fish. But before doing that, I want to finish the $10 terrariums. All right, the first 2 terrariums are done. Now we just gotta focus on this last one, which of course is gonna be the lake. Now, I bet some of you have probably been wondering, how on earth am I gonna turn this into a lake? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Let me show you how we're gonna do it. We're just gonna take this, we're gonna take it out to my car, buckle it in, and drive. Now, you see, I figured the best way to make a lake terrarium is to just go to an actual lake and scoop up the sand and water. That way, I wouldn't have to worry about our lack of money. All right, I've made it. I mean, it's not a lake, it's a river, but no, it's gonna have to do. And this is very embarrassing. I really hope someone doesn't see me trying to pick up this water and put it in my jar. Okay, I have Serrated around me. No one's near me. I have time to get this water, baby. Give me this water. So I collected all the water I needed and also scooped up some of the dirt so I could bring it home. So I added everything in and the lake ended up looking like this. Yeah, not very appealing. Well, there wasn't much I could do. So anyways, I needed to add life into it. And this was actually gonna be pretty easy because a few videos back, I built a lake ecosystem on my desk. And in that video, I put some albino mystery snails into it. And just recently, they had babies. So I'm just gonna yoink this guy and put him into his new home. Do you even see it in there? It's there, I think. Wait, no, I think it's there. I can't even tell where it is. I think it might be dead. The $10 builds were all completely finished, but don't leave yet, as now I'm adding the most coolest, epicest, super cool life into the $1,000 build. Guppies. Okay, to you, maybe they're not the coolest fish ever, but to me, I mean, they look pretty cool. They got spots and fins and, okay, you know, let's just add them in. So I put some of this API quick start bacteria in, so it would be safe to add the fish whilst the cycling process took place. And immediately, you could tell they absolutely loved their new home. Well, I can't say that they loved it for sure, but I mean, they were swimming around and stuff, so they probably did. I even turned on the river flow to see how they would react. Most of them seemed pretty annoyed, but one of them kept playing around in it and flinging himself around the river. The $1,000 terrarium and $10 terrariums are now all finished. Are the $10 terrariums better, or is the $1,000 terrarium better? And well, the answer is pretty obvious. The $1,000 terrarium is better. But you do gotta remember, this is literally $1,000. Like, literally, you could replace this with a used car, or, okay, maybe not a car. I just found this video where a guy named Coyote Peterson lets a black widow crawl all over his arm. Watching this made me think that maybe black widows weren't as vicious as I thought, and maybe I could keep one as a pet. I guess this should be the Black Widow. And I genuinely think this is the most venomous pet I've kept on the channel. But anyways, let's go open this up. So I brought it to my table and opened the package up. After carefully taking out the packing material, I then took out the container that had a Black Widow spider inside. Oh, nah, here it is. A literal Black Widow. But I did just figure something out because apparently I didn't order just one of these. If you look down in this box, I actually ordered 2 more. Yeah, apparently I accidentally placed the order for a 3-pack. So now I have 3 Black Widows. But I wanted to take a closer look, so I opened up a container to let a spider out. And I guess it was a bit dizzy because instantly it fell on its back to reveal that iconic red hourglass shape, which warns you that this spider is nothing to mess around with. It has a potent bite. Oh, shoot, it's trying to escape. Put it in the container. Okay. Whoa. I gotta be more careful with these things, man. But these 3 spiders aren't gonna spin webs in these tiny containers. They were gonna need a proper enclosure, which I needed to build by first covering a bunch of spray foam with dirt and wood chip stuff to make the background. But in the middle, I put in this rock background and spray foamed normal rocks to it. You see, I'm gonna separate the enclosure into a forest, a cave, and a home interior to see where Black Widows like to make webs and hunt the most. For the home interior part, I got a piece of styrofoam and painted a brick pattern onto it to, you know, make it look like a brick wall like a lot of homes have, and so I spray foamed that in, and the background was now complete. And now we gotta do the web building bases. Basically what that means is we just put sticks and stuff so the spiders can spin their webs in here. To start, I'm gonna lay down a simple substrate across the entire enclosure that I'll be able to customize to each environment. But first of all, the forest, and as I'm sure you can imagine, we're gonna put some wood in here, just enough on the 2 sides for a solid web to be made in between. And then I'm even gonna glue some moss coming down from the ends of the branches so it sort of looks like leaves on a tree. And then I'm gonna get this bag of leaves that I bought. And don't ask me why I didn't just pick them up from outside. I don't know why I bought these. But anyways, with those, I scattered them along the bottom, so it looked like a forest floor with all the fallen leaves everywhere. And last but not least, I got some tiny rocks and scattered them around too. Just a few, because I gotta save most for the cave. And speaking of the cave, we're gonna start right away by laying down some rocks, because that's pretty much all they got. But as you can see in this photo, there's actually a bunch of these pointy rocks called stalagmites. And I think they would work perfectly in my enclosure, so let me get some. Alright, so I've got a big rock and a hammer right there, so I guess let me just try to carve some of those stalagmites out of this. So I guess I'll just go and try and hit it. I don't really know if this is gonna work, but you're gonna break. fella. Eventually, after a bit of hitting, I got a few pieces that when connected sorta looked like stalagmites, so I went and attached them together with spray foam. And then using more spray foam, I stuck them all into place pointing up in the cave section of the enclosure. Finally, I went and sprinkled some normal colored rocks around and then some different colored rocks around because, yeah, we literally just put rocks everywhere for this section. Alright, once this spray foam dries, I'm gonna go in and paint it, but for now, let's work on the home interior section. And to start, I've got this carpet-like material, which I'm gonna cut out to shape, and then I'm just gonna go and put it in there, and boom. Now I need to get some mini home furniture in here that the spider will be able to spin his webs from. And my only idea for how I can get that is to build it with some Legos. So yeah, let's get building, baby. First of all, using black bricks, I stacked them up to make this little lampshade thing. Then with some red bricks, I made a tiny little couch. Now a chair made of brown bricks. Finally, I just took the rest of my bricks to make a randomly color assorted red and white shelf. Yeah, I'm a master builder, as you can tell. Anyways, I went and put each of those inside and even got some little dollhouse furniture to fill in the dead space, and boom, shakalaka. That's what I call a home house interior. I know a lot of Black Widows love to live inside houses, so one of them should definitely like this place. But the next step on the list is to get some plants. Put the two land plants in the forest section, which as you can see, I ended up getting a beautiful red plant to match the red on Black Widows. Then I took apart the plant from Home Depot and glued the vines coming down from the top of the cave section. Finally, I glued some more moss all along the forest section because I felt like it wasn't green enough. And then I added a bit of this dead type of fern moss along parts of the cave because I felt like it matched pretty well. Oh, and I almost forgot the most important part, the stupid AI generated pictures for the house interior. So I cut them out and glued them along sides of the brick wall. There were many great works of art, like a Black Widow flying in the sky with wings, a Black Widow dancing in a disco room, and a Black Widow eating a male after mating, which yes, they actually do that in the wild. Now you see in the wild, Black Widows are actually cannibals towards other female Black Widows, which means my 3 Black Widows cannot be able to access each other, or, you know, they'd probably eat each other. So I've got these acrylic sheets, which should act as good separators. So I went and measured them to size and then cut them out. There we go, that fits perfectly. And now last but not least, I'm gonna put in one of these reptile foggers. Basically, when you turn this dial, it spits a bunch of fog out the end of this tube. Black Widows love a high humidity to make their webs, so this should encourage them to do that quickly. And well, I would say this enclosure is now 100% complete, but that does mean I gotta actually let the Black Widows loose in here, which I'm kind of scared to do, but let's just do it. And as you can see, I've got the 3 Black Widows in their own little containers. So I've got the first one. Let's let this guy loose into the forest. Then I'm gonna put the second one into the cave section like that. Then finally, the 3rd Black Widow in the home interior section. And while all the spiders were now in their new home, I took an interest to the one in the forest area. You see, this one immediately started to crawl all around her new home and even made her way up to the roof of the enclosure. There on the roof, you can see she started to walk around with a little strand of silk coming out the end of the abdomen. She was already building a web. Spiders, of course, do this to catch prey, and Black Widows in specific have some of the strongest silk out of any spider, which is somehow produced in these little silk glands that they have. Anyways, I left the Black Widow to continue with that, and the next day I came back and opened up the top of the enclosure. You could see the area where she was constructing the web, and now she was hiding in this little crevice. So much for building this enclosure. I built all this forest area just for the spider to make her web right in this little area. Well, at least she has something, because that means now I can try and feed her a bunch of different types of food to see which they like the most, starting with mealworms. Now I wanted to start small, and as you can see, these mealworms I bought are absolutely minuscule. They're barely the size of the tip of my finger, but hopefully the spider will still like them. Using some tweezers, I dropped a mealworm straight into the spider's web, and immediately it started to squirm around to try and escape. But spider webs are specifically designed to keep little insects like this stuck in them. All the wiggling around made the Black Widow come awake, and soon it even crawled out, only to walk right by the mealworm and run away. In fact, this Black Widow tried to make a grand escape, and even webbed down the side of my table onto the floor.
Oh, no. Do not go under the table. Do not go under the table.
Anyways, I ended up scooping it into a container where I then dropped another mealworm in front of him, and once again, he didn't want to eat it.
Okay, well, clearly this Black Widow's not trying to eat any mealworms, so instead, I've got a bag of some tiny little crickets.
And these I'm gonna feed to the second Black Widow in the cave area. Now, if you remember, I put this spider in the enclosure on this little plastic lid where I already had a web. And since putting it in 2 days ago, it still hasn't moved at all. It might be dead actually. But anyways, I put in some crickets to see if it would eat. And literally right away, one of the crickets jumped towards the spider and jolted him awake, which I guess was a good sign because the spider was now finally moving. But when I tried to bring the cricket back, it scared the spider and it ran away into the cave. I almost lost track of the spider until I came across her again on top of the enclosure where she had somehow escaped to. I tried to feed her a cricket once again, but she just was not having it, so I scooped her back into the plastic container. Well, it looks like this Black Widow is also not eating, which usually would mean I would go test the third and final food source, which was gonna be just crickets, but a bit bigger. But I kind of have bad news because I don't really have a spider to feed these to. Yes, you heard that right. Since putting the third spider into the house interior section 2 days ago, I haven't seen it at all. It literally escaped my enclosure. And now, not only did I have one missing, but I also had 2 more that weren't eating. This is genuinely the worst idea I've had for a video. Like, pet Black Widow. Like, what am I thinking? One is escaped and is literally crawling around my garage. There's only one way I can make this up for the content. I gotta let the Black Widow crawl on my arm, just like I saw Coyote Peterson do at the start of the video. So, let's not waste any time. Let me get my mom in here. Hi, Mom.
Hi.
All right, I'm bringing you in here today because I got a special job for you. As you know, I always keep the weirdest pets. And can you guess what pet's in here based off the decorations?
Oh my gosh. Is it a Black Widow?
Yeah, it's a Black Widow.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you see those paintings on the wall?
Yeah, I do.
A Black Widow? Isn't that cool?
Oh.
Why? Okay, I got them onto this little tray for you. And basically, you can see it right there. What do you
No,
think?
no.
Say hi.
No. I wouldn't keep that as a pet.
Why? It's cute. Well, I did say I have a job for you. So can you hold the camera?
Oh my gosh, you are not gonna put this on you.
Here, hold the camera. All right, as you see, we got the Black Widow in a nice little clear container. And I'm just gonna start by literally putting it on my sleeve like this until it crawls out. You see, the plan is to have it crawl onto my sleeve, and then from there, it'll crawl onto my hand. So I basically just waited until it started to crawl out. I have to be super calm right now. But as you could have guessed, of course things went wrong. Because as you can see, it just started to grasp onto the edge of the container and not let go at all. I was probably making it pretty mad, so I quickly transferred it to a piece of cardboard. Okay, so I decided to just put them onto a piece of cardboard, and I'll let them crawl out here. And after gathering together a bunch of courage, I just moved the cardboard in front of my hand to let it happen. Okay, I'm gonna do it in 3, 2, 1.
Lord Father, Jesus, please. Oh God, Lord Father, please. Okay, it's time to go off. It's time to go off, Lord Father.
Oh,
Oh, that was so nerve-wracking. Oh my gosh, how did you feel doing that?
The heart was going 500 beats a second. Well, there you have it. Probably the stupidest. Have a good day, or night, or afternoon, or morning, and goodbye. And subscribe too. Them right next to it. I'm filling this tank up with the coolest species I can find, starting with plants, and eventually getting to shrimp, snails, fish, and even more. Not only will I document the process of building it, but also the daily lifestyle of every creature living inside and how they survive. To understand how it started, we're going back to day 1, where I unboxed a 21-gallon tank. Now, I wanted to build it on my actual desk, but considering my desk is made of glass, it'd probably shatter from all the weight, and the ecosystem would fall on the floor and spill all the fish around my room. I don't want that. So instead, I'm moving an old dresser into the corner. I know it looks ugly now, but just give me a second. This tablecloth hides all the stains and leaves me ready to add my tank. Now, if we want to add some awesome life to this lake, we need to first build an awesome lake. So I went out and bought all the materials I'm gonna need and started by mixing the substrate. This substrate I'm using is a mix of brown fluorite and sugar white sand, which is optimized to help the plants grow. And most importantly, it just looks cool. But before adding in plants, I did a bit more designing with some rocks and wood. Now we gotta add the water, and because I need it to be very clean water for the fish, tap water simply is not gonna cut it. Instead, I'm gonna fill it up with this reverse osmosis water filter that I get my drinking water out of. Okay, why is this thing so slow? Bruh. It may have taken literally an hour, but eventually I got enough water to fill up the aquarium. Just kidding, I still needed like 17 gallons of water. And because I'm lazy, I just put the water dispenser straight into the tank like this. I also had to add in a mineral supplement to the water because the reverse osmosis filter I used stripped them all. I was soon gonna start introducing life into the lake ecosystem, but before, I needed to complete their home by adding in plants. So I went outside and started to pick out the coolest looking plants I could find. Just kidding, those are not freshwater plants, and they would all die if I put them in. What I actually did is order 9 different species of real aquatic plants to my house. I tried using my special planting tweezers, but they were so bad. So I just used my hands, which worked a lot better. The kit I bought also came with these tiger lotus bulbs, which made me think I got scammed because this is not a plant. But apparently it's just a seed that'll grow into a full beautiful plant in a month. Although while I was putting in the plants, I kept digging up dirt and it started to make the water super dirty. I literally couldn't even see through it by the end, so I tried adding in some clarity solution to it, which usually fixes stuff like this, and I added on a filter. But after waiting 2 whole days, the water barely even cleared up, but now it just looks like tea.
Wait, I wonder if it tastes like tea. Okay, it definitely doesn't.
Anyways, I did some research to figure out why it was like this, and Google told me that the driftwood I added inside is releasing some chemicals called tannins into the water, which is completely polluting it. So I took that wood out and added in a product called Purigen into the filter, which should remove the tannins. While the filter cleaned the water, I took the driftwood and started to boil it. Apparently the heat removes the tannins. I mean, I don't know how that really works, but I never questioned Google. You could tell it was working well because after the first boil, the water looked like this.
I wonder if this one tastes like tea. Nope.
So I boiled it a few more times. The next day, the water was crystal clear again, and I added in our final and coolest plant, duckweed. Now, if I'm being honest, this didn't even come with the plant kit I bought, but I watched this one video where the guy had something similar, and I really wanted it. It was totally worth it because it looked cool from not only above, but also beneath. The only problem is that it sort of blocks light from getting into the tank, so I added on a proper light that helped light it up a bit better. I could add in the animals now, but if I did, then they would probably all die. That's because before adding in life, you need to cycle the water. Basically, you just pour a small sample of healthy bacteria into the water, and that bacteria will break down toxic chemicals. But this isn't a science channel, so if you want to learn more, go watch Bill Nye the Science Guy or something. After waiting a week, my water treatment test said it was good to add in some animals. I wanted to start by adding some invertebrates, which are animals without spines, like shrimp and snails, that will help clean up algae around the tank. First up, I got 3 yellow shrimp. The shrimp were very small. I mean, seriously, I did not expect them to be absolutely microscopic. But I pushed the duckweed out the way at the top and added them in. The shrimp immediately started to explore their new home. I was waiting for them to do something useful by maybe cleaning up some algae or something, but they kept just being lazy and standing around doing nothing. I searched up why, and apparently the reason is that these shrimp spend most of their day cleaning themselves by rubbing their body with their claws. Oh my god, the shrimp just ripped his arm off. What? I'm just kidding. That's just a piece of debris that he removed from himself. That's the whole reason why they clean themselves. But since these guys are lazy, I'm gonna add some albino mystery snails into the tank. Although, to be fair, these guys weren't much better. I mean, snails are sort of known for being the slowest animal in the world that goes 0.0006 miles an hour.
Bruh.
So if the snails made one wrong turn like this guy, then they're gonna waste literally 20 minutes climbing up a log for no reason at all. But at least snails are a bit better at cleaning up algae, so I can't really complain. Anyways, let's get to the good stuff, fish. For the first species, I chose the coolest looking fish I could find, green and yellow neon tetras. Google tells me these fish originate from the Amazon rainforest. But if I'm being honest, I do not believe that, because if they actually did, they would definitely get eaten by an alligator or something. Anyways, I made a good choice by picking these guys, because after adding them in, you could immediately tell how much color they added to the ecosystem. These tetras are schooling fish, so that means that they like to stay together in groups to avoid predators in the wild. But the best thing by far about these fish is that in the nighttime when there's no lights, they have the ability to glow in the dark. This is very cool because when I'm sleeping, I can look over to my left and see some glowing fish that brings the entire ecosystem to life. But since these tetras spend most of their time in the middle to top areas of the tank, I want to add in a fish that spends most of their time at the bottom of the tank. So I got some yo-yo loaches. Loaches are also schooling fish, so I got 3 of them and added them in. They immediately went down to the substrate because they are bottom dwellers and started to explore their new home. They were honestly better at cleaning the lake than the invertebrates were, and just swept around the entire ecosystem, eating any algae they could find. But the 2 best things about these loaches are that 1, they have yo-yo in their name, and I like yo-yos, and 2, their white and black pattern makes them look like a zebra, and I like zebras too. Now, the only thing the ecosystem is missing is food for the fish. I could just feed the fish these little pellets, but it's good to feed them a greater variety of food. So today, I'm feeding them some nutritious bloodworms. Now, I'm definitely not gonna touch these things because they're nasty. So now, I actually have a use for my tweezers. As soon as I dropped them in, the tetra swooped in and snatched all of them up. But every now and then, the neon tetras would miss a bloodworm where they would just drop down to the floor so the yo-yo loaches could eat them. Their mouths are so small that they need to just take these tiny little bites out of the bloodworms in order to eat. All of the life in the lake. If 1,000 ants had to fight a black widow, what would actually happen? Would the spider's venom come out on top, or would the sheer number of ants overwhelm her? Well, in this video, I'm gonna test ants against that and tons of other interesting scenarios to see how strong ants really are. The only problem is I don't have 1,000 ants. And I bought the most expensive shipping option to make sure the ants would arrive without any dying during the shipping.
Oh, I am so excited. As long as I got a good species, it's gonna be so fun to watch these go against the black widow and everything else I have planned for them.
Anyways, I brought them to the recording area and opened up the package, and I was kind of surprised by what I found.
Nah, are they in here? Oh my gosh, okay, there actually is like 1,000. Okay, at least I didn't get scammed.
Since they were in a pill bottle, I couldn't really get a good look at them, so I got a clear container and dumped them all inside. Instantly, you could now see the true scale of what 1,000 ants actually looks like. And at least, I think it's 1,000. I'm not counting all these guys. And after analyzing the species, I realized that these were harvester ants, which are equipped with venomous stingers and massive mandibles, meaning yes, this was actually going to be a very interesting video with everything I was going to test.
Now, for these 1,000 ants to be able to fight a black widow, we first need to get them in a nest. And well, everyone say hello to the Terra jar. It's like Terra Green, except I replaced the green with a jar. Anyways, let me go and dump all these guys in here. Be free, everyone. This is way bigger than that tiny pill bottle you were in.
Right away, you could see the ants starting to move around on top of the soil. Now, you might be thinking that this isn't enough space for the ants. Well, it actually is, because this is specifically designed for the ants to dig out tunnels all along the sides of the glass. And as the video progresses, we're gonna see their nest get crazier and crazier. And yeah, most of the ants were kind of going crazy trying to climb up the glass, but after leaving them alone for only a few hours, you could see they were already starting to construct their tunnel system. Each of the worker ants would pick up singular grains of sand from the tunnels, walk up to the surface, drop the sand, and go back down to repeat the process. And when you have 1,000 ants, you can see they dig out a pretty good amount in only just an hour of this time-lapse footage.
Oh yeah, it's sick to see the ants already starting to build their nest, and it should be fully dug out by the end of the video. Anyways, as you know, I'll be putting these guys to the test against a black widow. But before then, I have all of these different training activities to prepare the ants for the final spider boss. Second up, we're gonna see how fast they can take down some prey. Yup. We've got a cricket. Oh my gosh, crickets hate me, and sorry buddy, you are gonna be, well, I guess you guys will just see what's about to happen.
And well, right after dropping the cricket in, literally within like a nanosecond, the ants were swarming it. I thought it would only take like a couple minutes, but no, this cricket was already pinned down, getting venom injected into him. As I said earlier, each of these ants is equipped with a venomous stinger that is obviously not super deadly to humans, but to crickets, when there's like 20 ants repeatedly stinging you, you're kind of done for. Yep, ants don't play around when there's a threat near their nest, and you can see over the next 30 minutes, the cricket stayed completely surrounded by the ants. And I'm guessing they already started to rip its antennas off and stuff to get a tasty meal to spread with the rest of the colony.
Dang, that was cool to watch. Anyways, it's getting late, so I think I'm gonna go and put this bucket on top of the ants so it's dark for them. Now I'm gonna go to sleep, and hopefully when I wake up, there's gonna be tons more tunnels. Anyways, yeah, I'll see you guys in the morning.
And over those next 10 hours, the ants made their tunnels so much larger and more intricate than before. And on the back, they even had tunnels all the way down at the bottom, with ants actively walking about the whole system.
Anyway, ants, it's 8 a.m., and that means it's time
As you can see, the alarm's going off. It's time for challenge number 3. Let's get these ants trained even more. For this training, I have to pick up one unlucky ant and transport him to the antlion pit. If you don't know what an antlion is, well, this is it. It's just a tiny little bug that has actually evolved over millions of years to be an expert at taking down ants. Basically, when you go and put them on the floor, they start to dig themselves under the ground, and then they just go around digging. And I have 9 more of these guys, which I spread across the whole tank. And as you can see, they all dig around, making these little lines in the ground. But after waiting a few hours, you can see that each of the ant lions had actually dug out their own little pits in the ground, and when an ant walks into the bottom of them, they're basically cooked. All right, ant, I'm gonna put you right at the start, and at the end, I'm gonna put some breadcrumbs so you can bring back to the colony if you survive this. And without further ado, I let the ant loose. Let's see if he can get the bread to feed the colony. Immediately, he started to explore around the sand area. He had no idea that he was constantly walking near these pits of death, and eventually he took a wrong step and stumbled inside of one. These pits are specifically designed to make the ants trip into them, but the antlion at the bottom must have been sleeping or something, because nothing happened and the ant was just able to walk out. But if you look closely, this caused the antlion to wake up. He was now active and armed, with his mandibles now throwing up sand in case the ant walked in again. And over the next few minutes, the ant did just that. He kept walking inside of the pit, but the antlion just could never quite snap on the ant at the right time. Well, that was until this. You see, this is paused footage, but basically if we unpause it, you can see exactly what happens when an antlion gets a hold of the ant. The antlion started to bring the ant underground, and within a few seconds, it was like there was never anything even here. I thought it was over, and you could tell by the sand moving that the ant was getting pulled further and further underground. But all of a sudden, I saw this. A little bit of the ant's head had poked out of the ground. He somehow was fighting back, and must have been using its stinger to try and escape. I immediately rushed back and recorded with my other camera, and what I saw was so weird. The ant had somehow made it out from under the sand, but it wasn't trying to escape. In fact, it was using its front legs to try and dig back under the ground.
Bro, what the heck? Why is this ant digging like a dog? He's literally using his front legs to dig in the sand where he almost just got killed. Bro, this guy's crazy.
Nah, bro, if you want to be eaten by an antlion that bad, I will gladly put you right there.
Have fun, buddy.
And right after putting him in this pit, this antlion also woke up and eventually snapped at the ant. And it once again started to pull him underground. But miraculously, this ant was able to fight back once again and somehow broke free, immediately ran out of the hole and straight over to the breadcrumbs to claim his prize. Nah, this ant tricked me to have me move him closer to the bread, and now he somehow won the challenge. Nah, bro, there is something up with these ants. I'm being dead serious. How on earth did he escape the antlion pit over here? And how on earth did he escape this one and then know to go to the bread? And now he's trying to bring bread back to the colony. Bro, well played. You survived.
I'll bring you and all the bread back to the colony.
So I brought it all over to the nest, and the entire colony was clearly super excited because they all swarmed the bread and started taking little pieces of it underground. Anyways, I went and waited a few hours and came back to find the nest even bigger once again. The ants still are not done with their training sessions, and next up, we gotta see if they can survive some Venus flytraps for some food. So I immediately picked up some of the workers to bring them to the flytrap minefield, completely decked out with tons of Venus flytrap plants. For the food on this obstacle, we got a gorilla. I'm just kidding. I don't know why it's packaged in this. Basically what it is just a bunch of oats, and I'm just gonna feed these to the ants. Let's put them inside. You see, each Venus flytrap has these tiny little trigger hairs inside of them, and when something touches them, it causes them to close. And if I carefully put the oats in between the hairs without hitting any of them, I can basically just put the food in here, which will make the ants have to carry them out. But it was actually pretty hard to get the oats perfectly inside, so I ended up just spreading the oats everywhere around the tank. All right, let's see how the ants do in here. I have a feeling they're not gonna do too well, but yeah, we'll see. Immediately, the ants had started to swarm out the tube that I'd put them in, and they were probably really confused of why they were all just transported away from their nest. And for a little while, they kind of just walked around, investigating their new environment. But that was until a couple minutes later, where this first ant walked up to a Venus flytrap plant. He probably had no idea that these plants were basically alive and wanted to eat him whole. Thankfully though, this guy was able to walk out of the plant without triggering any of the traps. However, a few minutes later, this ant walked up to another one of the plants, and well, this time all I'll say is he wasn't as lucky. Surprisingly, he wasn't super attracted to the oats, but it did seem like he may have been attracted to the traps themselves. You see, Venus flytraps create a very thin layer of nectar around the lip of the jaw jaws to lure insects in. And eventually, this ant ended up, well, walking into one, hitting a trigger hair, and just like that, he was now stuck inside of the jaws. As you can see, the ant was just walking around inside trying to escape, and he had no idea what to do. Too bad for this guy. This trap is going to release a type of acid over the next few days to basically just turn him into some nutrients to make the plant even stronger. Now, interestingly enough, pretty much all the ants I had put inside were staying away from the traps and were all grouped up around this corner. In fact, they were actually starting the process of digging some more tunnels. Now, these ants still think they're in the nest. They're just trying to dig. Well, I mean, I guess it's pretty smart if you're not getting eaten by the traps. Because over the next 20 minutes, only one single ant came across another Venus flytrap. This guy. Let's call him Larry. Now, Larry is a daredevil because he was walking all over the jaws of all of these plants, absolutely risking it for the biscuit. But eventually, Larry's luck ran out because of this happened. The jaw had closed on him, leaving half of his body stuck out of it. But this was actually pretty good for Larry because it means he had a chance to escape. Using all of his strength, which, albeit is not very much, he tried pushing himself out of the jaws. But the trap is designed to just get tighter and tighter as time goes on, meaning this ant was doomed. Well, not actually, because I kind of felt bad for Larry, so I cheated nature and used my tweezers to open the trap. I safely got Larry out and brought him back to the rest of the colony. Anyways, that training actually went really well. Every single ant survived except one. So I brought them all back to the nest and gave the whole colony a bunch of these little gorilla oats to show my support. As you can see, it didn't take long for some of the ants to start moving the oats down to their intricate tunnel systems. And speaking of these tunnel systems, the last training session I'm putting these ants through before the Black Widow is a flood simulation. Yeah, I'm flooding this ant nest.
Well, kinda, because if I actually flooded this thing, it would kill every single ant. So instead, I've got this thing called the Little Dripper, which as you can see, drips some water droplets very slowly.
Yeah, it might seem kind of lame, but this little bit of water should be enough to eventually collapse part of the ant's tunnel system. And if it does collapse, if they can fix it quickly, it means they would have passed all my training missions, and that means they're ready for the Black Widow. So I immediately started to drop the little droplets of water. And initially, the ants were very confused. Some of the droplets were hitting the ants and making them get completely drenched in water. But to my surprise, it almost seemed like the ants wanted to get wet, because more and more of the ants started to gather around where the water was dropping, and eventually a whole pile of ants was getting completely soaked by it. You see, ants are amazing in their ability to work as a team, and in the wild, if a real flood occurred, a massive ant colony would literally join together to make a raft out of their bodies. And that way the important stuff like the queen and eggs could stay on the top and stay dry to ensure the future of the colony. And on a mini scale, this is sort of what the ants are doing here. They're joining together to make a shield out of their bodies that will prevent the water from getting into their tunnels where all the eggs are stored.
Wow, ants are actually amazing. I was totally expecting these tunnels to just collapse from the water, but it seems like ants have literally evolved to do pretty much anything. I'll remove this water. I don't want to do any more harm. You guys prove to me you're very capable.
They instantly took down the cricket, somehow escaped the ant lions, survived the Venus flytraps, and even survived a flood. And throughout that process, they managed to build an awesome nest with a thriving colony.
It is safe to say these ants are ready for my escape. Yeah, don't tell my mom.
But anyways, I went and put the Black Widow in a container so you guys could get a good look at it. And as you can tell, it has that insane, iconic red hourglass abdomen. Wait, sorry. This is my pet robot Black Widow. This is not the real one. Here is the real Black Widow. As you can tell, it's extremely creepy. And under its glossy black abdomen is where the red hourglass is located. These guys have an insane amount of venom, so if it even bites a single ant, it's safe to say it's gonna be a goner. Anyways, here is the tank where the final battle will take place. I went and put a few sticks from my backyard, then I put in the Black Widow. Immediately, she started climbing all over the sticks, and I went and waited a little while she sort of settled in and found a nice spot to rest. Once she did, I went to the ant nest, scooped a good amount of the workers into a tube so we could get this battle started.
Let's get these ants in here. Let the games begin!
Immediately, the ants started to run out of the tube and down onto the sand. When pretty much all of the ants had made it down to the sand, some started to make their way over to the Black Widow, which was just perched right above them on the sticks. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm a pretty impatient guy, and I couldn't bear to wait for the battle to start. So I literally picked up the stick myself to bring the spider down to the ants. Immediately, the spider started to run around, and none of the ants really noticed besides this guy. That kind of bit the spider's leg or something and scared it away. The spider tried to escape as fast as it could by climbing climbing the glass, but it was too slick. Once a few other of the ants had noticed a black widow was on the ground, they started to jump it. And it was actually pretty funny to watch because as you can see, there's barely any ants and the spider was so scared trying to run away at full speed. Bro, you're like the most venomous spider in the world. Why are you not just fighting back? And yeah, a couple of the ants just kind of continued to terrorize the Black Widow. But the thing is, all of the rest of the ants were kind of just doing their own thing at the other side of the enclosure. I had to make this more interesting, so I had a better plan. I went and picked up all of the ants to bring them back to the nest. All right, well, I got the Black Widow from the tank. And hey, the title did say 1,000 ants versus Black Widow. Let's actually put this to the test against 1,000 ants. And well, I dropped the spider inside, and it immediately started going crazy, running everywhere. And obviously, the ants did not act kindly. Every single worker went on red alert mode and jumped onto the spider, grabbing her with their mandibles and repeatedly stinging it over and over. As you saw with the cricket, ants do not mess around with stuff in their nest. And to my surprise, the Black Widow did not even get a chance to fight back. It's actually pretty crazy how quickly the ants had pinned it down and started to devour it. And yeah, well, that's literally all that happened. And that should answer your question of who wins in a fight. 1,000 ants definitely wins, and they basically beat everything. There's a reason why ants are the secret king of the animal kingdom, because there's quadrillions of ants around the world. But one final thing, I have an important message to all the kids and families and parents watching out there, because these are the most exotic insects in the world, and I have 7 of them that I'll be building homes for and showcasing their coolest abilities. To start off, the first insect I have is this giant Asian mantis. Despite looking absolutely majestic, this is secretly a monster that devours its prey while it's still alive. But to be able to see that, I need to recreate her natural environment in this little enclosure. So I built it up with all sorts of stuff like bark and moss, and soon enough, it was complete and ready for the mantis. Now, mantises actually have these little sharp spikes all over their legs, which allows them to grip onto very smooth surfaces like this glass. And because this mantis is so beautiful, I'm gonna name her something beautiful to match. So everyone, please say hello to Bertrude. But Bertrude wasn't the only thing alive in this enclosure, as just earlier I had put a couple crickets inside. Immediately after, Bertrude sensed them and rushed in towards the prey with killer instincts. Seconds later, the cricket was now getting crushed by Bertrude's claws and ripped apart by her alien mouth. But whilst the mantis was enjoying her meal, another cricket walked by. So she snatched that up and started to eat 2 crickets at once. Clearly, she was pretty hungry. Now, Bertrude has got to be one of the coolest insects I've ever seen. Like, seriously, she looks like King Kong right now. But there are still 6 more insane insect species I'm going to be showing off in this video, including a cow killer that is known to have one of the most painful stings in the entire world, and I'm going to be holding it. Yeah. But before getting to the cow killer, let's say hello to insect number 2, a metallic stag beetle. Now this is straight up an exotic insect. I mean, it literally looks like it's from the future. This species has some of the largest mandibles out of any beetle species. And honestly, those big sharp mandibles make me too scared to pick it up. So instead, I just picked it up with this plastic lid. For its enclosure, I'm using this 14 by 8 inch tank. And watch this, when I clap my hands in front of the terrarium, it's gonna be instantly built. 3, 2, 1... boom! Now that's a super clean transition. As you can see, there's tons of stuff in here like bark and sphagnum moss that will be perfect for the beetle to hide under. And speaking of the beetle, I of course need to give this guy a name. And since, you know, it's the best and coolest beetle ever, I'm gonna name him Paul McCartney. Because, you know, I just feel like that name fits him pretty well. You know, he looks like a Paul. Anyways, despite Paul having these absolutely massive mandibles, he doesn't even use them to eat prey because he's a boring herbivore. So to feed him, I just got an orange and put it inside. I also put some of this beetle jelly because I think they like eating this too. But Paul is a male beetle and he looks pretty lonely if I'm being honest. So I also got this female of the same species that is honestly a lot uglier than Paul because she doesn't even have those cool mandibles, but I put her in anyways and soon she started to wander around. Eventually, she even climbed onto Paul's back while he was sleeping, which seemed to annoy him and he got up and walked away. Not a great start to these beetles' relationship, but I'm sure Paul and this new female will eventually enjoy their home together and might even have little beetle babies. Aww. And remember, later I'm gonna be picking up a cow killer wasp. which is said to have a sting strong enough to kill a literal cow. Ooh. I hope it doesn't sting me. Anyways, as you know, we still have more exotic insects to showcase. And for this next insect, let's play a little game. When I move my camera down, you have 3 seconds to find the insect in the frame. Let's go. And did you find it? Well, probably not, because this insect actually has a very special disguise. Scattered around here is a species of insect called Phyllium philippinicums, commonly known as leaf insects. Anyways, I don't have much to say about these guys. I just think it's pretty funny how over millions of years they've evolved to look like a leaf. Bruh. I mean, they could have evolved to have huge teeth and claws and stingers, but no. They evolved to look like a leaf. Now for their home, I got this glass terrarium that's a bit bigger since we have 4 of these bad boys, which will all eventually grow to be about 5 times as big, so I needed a lot of space. I wanted to make this look like a plains biome, so I got some artificial grass, and I also put a bunch of tree branches all around the tank, so the leaf insects could pretend to be leaves, just like they were born to do. Welcome to your new home, boys. I hope you like it. Or girls. I don't know if they're boys or girls. Most of the little leaves were just walking around and enjoying themselves, but a couple of the leaf insects started praising to the gods or something by raising their hands in the air and doing some sort of ritual. Anyways, these guys' diet consists mostly of themselves. And by that, I mean they eat leaves. So yeah, they're basically cannibals. But their absolute favorite food is blackberries. So of course, I put some of those around the tank. Well, this is pretty good. I think these leaves are gonna live a fantastical life in here. Moving on to the 4th insect, we got a fierce apex predator. Not only does this insect have fangs, but he also injects a potent venom into anything it bites. Everyone say hello to one of my jumping spiders. Aww. Now, yes, technically by definition, this isn't an insect, but by my definition of an insect, it is. So, don't comment about it. Now, I'm not gonna pick up this guy with my hands because they're super fast and he'd probably just jump off my hand and go hide under the couch or something, and I don't want that. So, I'm just gonna speed run his new home real quick with tons of places for him to jump around, and boom. Let's get this little guy into here. These spiders are actually one of the coolest species because most of them have the ability to eat prey up to 3 times their own size. So of course I had to challenge my jumping spider by dropping in a few pretty decently sized crickets. Immediately the jumping spider hit on this piece of wood, seemingly waiting for the perfect moment to strike a cricket. But the funny thing was that he never actually did any attacking. If anything, the jumping spider was actually afraid of the crickets because every time he saw one, he got startled and slowly walked backwards. It was actually pretty funny. So to feed him, I got a couple smaller crickets and put those inside hoping he would eat those, but it kind of still seemed like he was scared of those as well. Well, I guess this guy's just not hungry right now, so in the future, if he still doesn't eat any crickets, I'll try feeding him some smaller worms and stuff. But for now, let's move on. I've been saving the best insects for last, and coming up soon, I'll be holding the cow killer wasp, which of course is the deadliest insect out of all of them. But first, for insect number 5, let's play another game. I'm gonna build this enclosure just like this. And as you can see, I built a nice little dirt enclosure with wood and moss. So now, can you guess what I'm gonna put in here based off of the enclosure? Your options are A, a shark, B, a dog, or C, an earthworm. The answer is... If you guessed shark, you were actually wrong. The actual answer is none of these. It's D, a millipede. And yeah, technically, once again, this isn't an insect, but don't worry about it. This species in specific is a pink-toed millipede, which to be honest, I don't know why it's called that because its toes are not pink. I mean, it doesn't even have toes. If anything, it should be called a orange leg millipede, but whatever. Despite it being kind of disgusting looking, I built up enough courage to pick it up onto my arm and move it into its enclosure. Oh, nah. This feels so weird crawling on me. What the heck? I swear this is actually like stinging me right now. What the heck? This feels so weird. Yeah, get off of me. Ugh. You see, millipedes have hundreds of legs, which helps them grip onto stuff and allows them to even walk upside down. Okay, maybe it's not that cool. Now, unfortunately for this video, millipedes are the most boring eaters ever, and basically just only eat decaying matter. So I'm just gonna put some blackberries in here and, yeah, call it a day. Enjoy your home, little guy. Now for insect number 6, which actually happens to be one of our most unique ones. You see, all of the other insects I've showed live on land. Well, this one actually lives under the water. These are banded diving beetles. And despite looking, kinda lame, they are actually essentially carnivorous killers that will eat prey way bigger than themselves. For its tank, I got this 10-gallon aquarium, and basically I'm just gonna fill it up with substrate, aquatic plants, and finally some water. Now, the best things about these guys is that they don't even need a water filter, since they are much less affected by variability in nitrogen or phosphorus concentration because they do not breathe. So yeah, let's put them in. The little beetles were shy to come out at first, but eventually the tank was swarming with all 7 of them. The way they swim is honestly just really cool because they got these little legs and stuff that they propel themselves with, which I guess is just kind of normal and not that cool, but now I want to show you guys how these beetles eat prey. So to do that, I got some mealworms and dropped them in the water. After a few minutes, amazingly, a beetle stumbled across a worm. So he grabbed it with his legs and pulled it all the way up to the surface of the water. When he got there, he started to absolutely devour the mealworm by sucking the life out of it. A couple more of the aquatic beetles found some more mealworms, so soon enough the entire tank was feeding on these guys. The next day, I came back to find these little lifeless mealworm exoskeletons laying around the floor. Clearly, the beetles had enjoyed their meals. Now, this is the moment we have all been waiting for, the 7th insect, a cow killer. Well, this is just a box, but inside of it, the cow killer awaits. Now, the actual name of this is a velvet ant, but the legend has it that its sting is strong enough to kill a literal cow. Hence why people call it the cow killer, and I'm about to have it crawl on my bare skin. But before that, I need to have its enclosure finished, so I have a place to, put it so it's not just stuck crawling on my arm. These guys live in the deserts and the wild, so I'm gonna quickly recreate that here by doing another super cool transition. Watch this. As I squeeze my hands in, the desert magically appears. Wow, okay. This is 50 Venus flytrap plants. And in this video, I'm gonna put 1,000 flies in the same container as them. Will the sheer number of flies trick the traps, causing them to close? Or are the flies just simply cooked?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's why I bought this.
This is 1,000 fly larvae. Yeah, might look extremely nasty, but over the next week, as long as I feed them food, they should all turn into flies so I can do this test.
So while we wait for these guys to turn into flies, obviously I have all of these Venus flytraps. But I also have tons of other carnivorous plants that you may have never even seen before. Meaning I'm gonna be able to do tons of different tests in this video. It's gonna be super cool.
And for test number 1, I want to show you guys the smallest Venus flytraps.
Now, you know it may sound stupid, but I promise you how they work and catch insects is actually really insane. Let me show you how they work.
And yeah, it's not a joke how small these things are, because when compared to normal Venus flytraps, the jaws are about 10 times smaller. And in fact, they're kind of cute, to be honest.
But since these are minuscule, the normal prey I feed in my videos is not gonna cut it. Yeah, sorry cricket, you get to live another day. That's why instead, I got literally the smallest thing available.
These are flightless fruit flies, which if you've seen my channel before, you know they're pretty much the most useless animal. Cause seriously, bro, how are you a fly that doesn't have the ability to fly? That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, I put the smallest Venus flytraps in the testing enclosure, then I put one of these flies inside to see if he'd get caught. Start the timer. Now this fly didn't waste any time, because it immediately walked straight up to one of the Venus flytrap pots, and then started to walk all over the tops of the jaws, absolutely risking his life. You may already know this, but normal Venus flytraps work by having these super tiny trigger hairs inside of them that when a bug or something touches them, it snaps shut. But these traps are obviously the smallest in the world. Because of that, they have extremely small trigger hairs. And I'm talking so small that if I zoom in like 100x on this footage, they're so thin, my camera can't even pick them up. And I guess the trigger hairs were quite literally so thin that every time this flightless fruit fly walked inside the jaw of a trap, the jaw didn't close at all, and the fly was able to just walk out. I mean, it kind of makes sense. These flightless fruit flies weigh about 0.0003 grams. So yeah, I guess the traps quite literally can't even be triggered by how light their weight is.
Yeah, clearly the fruit flies aren't gonna work. So instead, I got the world's smallest cricket instead to test. Let's see if this works any better.
And oh boy, let me just tell you, things were a lot more interesting this time around. Because once again, the cricket walked straight up to one of the trap pots and started climbing all over the tops once again. But this time, quite literally within 30 seconds, the cricket happened to put his face up to the lip of one of the Venus flytraps. You may also already know this, but these plants produce a special kind of nectar around the lips of their jaws to lure insects in like this cricket. And you can see it was working pretty well, because this cricket was just absolutely slurping this nectar up. But he was getting a bit too distracted, because he then stepped into the trap, probably stepping on the micro trigger hairs, which then caused the jaws of it to close. But the cricket was too fast, and he was barely able to make it out with his life. Dang, that was a close call, but you can see how quickly that can all happen. And yeah, don't worry guys, because it was only a few minutes later when the cricket did the same exact thing. He walked up to another jaw, walked straight into it, and yeah, this time the trap closed on him while he was starting to walk out, leaving half of his body now sticking out of the trap. Even though these are the smallest Venus flytraps in the world, they trap insects nearly just as well as the fully grown ones. It's pretty interesting. And yeah, while I wait for those 1,000 flies to hatch so we can do the final test, in the meantime, I want to show you some other insane carnivorous plants that you may have never seen before, with the second one being sundews.
Yep, everyone knows what Venus flytraps are, but not everyone knows what a sundew is, but they're actually pretty cool. Let me show you what they do.
So obviously, like flytraps, sundews are also a carnivorous plant, except instead of having jaws, it has these long stems with these little red hairs on the top of them. But on each of these little red hairs is a special kind of sticky glue it produces that will make it so when a fly or any other insect touches it, it gets permanently stuck because of how sticky it is.
And when an insect gets stuck on here, the trap does something insane to be able to consume the insect, which I'll show you very soon when it obviously traps an insect.
So yeah, I got multiple of these sundew plants, and I even got this slightly different kind of sundew called an octopus plant. That will be cool to see if this can catch any insects as well. So let's get these in the testing chamber.
And for this, I think I'll be using a cricket once again, because they're literally perfect. They can just climb up the side of the stems and yeah, just get stuck. This should be fun to watch. Let's put this dude inside.
So yeah, once again, I just started with one of these guys, but if this guy gets caught fast, I'll be adding way more inside of here. Anyways, this cricket for the first minute kind of just wandered around the walls of the enclosure, but it wasn't long until he started heading towards the sundews. Now you see, the sticky glue that this plant produces is actually a type of nectar, which smells and tastes great to the insects. So yeah, just like how Venus flytraps lure insects in with their nectar, these traps do the same thing, because this cricket then decided to start climbing up the stem. The only thing is though that he ended up stopping right before the sticky part, and that's actually because of his antenna. You see, crickets have these pretty long antennas that help them navigate and detect danger before running into it, and this guy's antenna actually ended up getting stuck in the sticky nectar part. But using its mouth, it was able to pull the antenna back and then started to lick all the nectar off of it. Yeah, and I'm not kidding, this cricket really just sat here for like 30 minutes, constantly licking his antenna, then putting it back into the sticky nectar, and then licking it back up. He was kind of outsmarting this carnivorous plant and just getting its nectar for free. So I'm not gonna lie, I just tried to push him towards it with my tweezers since he clearly wasn't gonna do it on his own, and yeah, he just kind of ended up falling off.
Yo, what the heck? I was just trying to record that cricket and I just realized there's a jumping spider in here. Do you see that? It's on the little octopus plant. Is it stuck?
Yeah, this jumping spider just happened to wander into this enclosure by accident. I guess he was just living somewhere in my house. But since he was here, I figured I'd just watch him to see if he would get caught by the traps. And pretty quickly, he started to climb the stems of the trap and got up to the sticky part. But yeah, he was kind of too smart for this trap too, and turned around the second he realized it was sticky. But it was pretty cool to watch this guy just jump around the plants. However, he never really ended up getting trapped, and he ended up just climbing out of the enclosure.
All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie. This cricket, I've been trying to record him getting eaten for like 2 hours now. And every time right before going on the sticky part, he just stops and cleans his antenna. And yeah, he just turns around and never actually goes on the sticky part. He's too smart for this. So yeah, let me take this guy out.
Instead, I actually just got out the flightless fruit flies again, because apparently this is actually sundew's favorite insect. And yeah, I just dumped a few on the sand, and it wasn't long until some of them started to climb all over the stems and eventually started getting stuck all over the different sticky parts. I even went and just dumped a crazy amount of these flies all over the top of the sundew plants to show you guys exactly how cool sundews really are. Because obviously, now you can see the sticky parts of the plants are just completely covered in flightless fruit flies. Now, if you're wondering how this plant actually eats the flies, well, this footage shows how. As you can see, it uses each of its red hairs to basically curl around the prey. And once all of those curl around it, the stem itself also starts to curl around the prey. This will basically ensure the fly has a 0% chance of escaping, while the plant releases basically an acid to consume it. Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
So yeah, it's pretty cool to see these things work. All these flies are just gonna turn into food for these plants very soon.
Alright, there's still one more major carnivorous plant type that I haven't shown yet. They're called pitcher plants.
Yep, this plant can also eat insects. And actually how it does it is probably the most brutal out of all of them. Let me show you.
Yep, like I said, these are called pitcher plants. And similar to the last plant, they have pretty pretty long stems that go up. But the difference is this time at the top, there's this little trapdoor leaf thing that if you look is actually covering a hole that leads directly down to a pit of acid at the bottom of the stem. Yep, these traps have this little hole here that's lined with a super slippery nectar on the inside. So whenever an insect walks inside, they'll slip into the acid at the bottom, and yeah.
And what's really cool is if you actually look inside of this pitcher plant, since it's kind of small and shallow, you can actually see the pool of acid at the bottom. And it actually looks like there's a couple little flies and stuff in there, which it looks like it's actually already dissolving. So yeah, it'd be cool to see some crickets or something fall in these. Let's test it out.
I didn't even need to use an enclosure this time because I knew this was going to be an extremely fast test. Because immediately after placing the cricket on this first pitcher plant, it started to climb along the sides of the red pitcher. As you can see, the inside of the plant is lined with these downward pointing hairs. This is to make it even more slippery and hard to escape. And yeah, it's kind of funny to see how fast this all happens, but the next time the cricket went to the opening of this plant, it straight up just slipped in right away. Nah, this dude had no clue this plant has evolved over millions of years to just be able to eat them this fast. Yeah, and as you can see on this footage that I recorded on my phone, he was now just sitting at the bottom of this pool of acid. Over the next few days, it'll dissolve him and turn him into nutrients for this plant to grow even stronger and larger. Nice.
And yeah, that's really all there is to these pitcher plants. They're not really the most interesting thing ever. But I actually have some great news, guys, because if you look in this container, you can see many of my flies are starting to hatch.
And that means we can finally start doing some massive scale Venus flytrap tests and eventually test as many flies as I can against all of my Venus flytraps to see who wins. Let's start very simple though with 5 Venus flytraps versus a single fly. And let's see if this fly can get trapped in under a minute. Now I know you may be thinking, bruh, TerraGreen, I don't care about one fly, this is boring. Well, don't worry, because this literally only lasted like 20 seconds. Because immediately this fly started to crawl up the side of a pot, and of course he made his way immediately into a jaw, triggered one of the hairs, and it closed directly onto him. Yup, flies are basically the one thing Venus flytraps are the best at catching. I mean, they're called Venus flytraps for a reason.
Anyways, I got the tank where the final test will be taking place right here, obviously.
And I didn't waste any time. I just got out the flies that I've been hatching, and I put them straight into this enclosure so we could get this final test started. Quickly, I removed the lid and started the timer. Let the test begin. Now, immediately, a couple of the flies started to fly out of the container, and others started to walk out of the sides. Now, there was something weird, though, because while the container had a decent amount of movement in it, only like 10 of the flies were actually leaving the container over the 4-hour time lapse here. Yeah, basically all the flies were staying in there. So I decided to just take the paper towel out that they were all on and tried to just shake off as many as I could onto the Venus flytraps. And obviously, this meant that a few of the flies were now scattered all over the traps and were actually starting to get trapped. But most of them were just being super inactive, barely moving, and not flying. I guess because they were just newly hatched flies and it takes a while for them to become normal.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, guys, this is kind of a fail. Basically, none of the flies are flying around, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish this.
But don't worry, because my YouTube friend Flytrap Films recorded a test with an insane amount of flies super similar to this, and he wanted me to show you it. In it, you can see he has a Venus flytrap plant out, and also a bunch of rotten meat in order to attract the flies. Yeah, and it worked really well, because instantly tons of flies started to gather around this plant. And you guessed it, started to get trapped. I mean, when you have this many flies, it's a given that tons are just gonna get trapped right away. And what's so crazy is that sometimes so many would gather on some of the jaws before they close, causing up to 6 flies to get trapped in the same jaw at the same time. What? Flytrap Films himself said that this is the most flies he's ever seen get caught at once. Also, some bonus footage for you guys. Hey, you remember those pitcher plants from earlier? Flytrap Films also did the same test with a massive pitcher plant to show you guys how effective these things are at catching flying insects. And this plant literally just looks like a vacuum cleaner sucking up all the flies, which in a way it kind of is, because every time a flying insect flaps its wings above the opening in this plant, it creates a weird kind of vacuum effect with the wind, causing the bug to actually get pulled down into it. And yup, after not too much time, this thing just caught so many flies, and it was literally just starting to overflow. That is probably the craziest performance from a carnivorous plant that I have ever seen. Thank you, Flytrap Films, for letting me show you this footage. This is a totally regular fish. Just kidding, it can literally walk on land. Yeah, I just figured out that there's this species of fish that has evolved over millions of years to be able to survive out of the water. It's called a mud skipper, and I want to keep it as a pet.
Okay, well, it's gonna be here in 7 days, so I guess I just gotta wait for then.
With 1 week until the walking fish got delivered, I needed to create a home for it with both a section for water and land.
So to do that, I just went out and bought, 1 second. This. It's a 40-gallon terrarium, and I'm gonna fill it up with this. I'm just kidding, there's more. A lot more.
So yeah, basically a lot of stuff, because I want to make this be a dream home for my mud skipper that will have tons of awesome stuff, including a literal parkour course to figure out if the $24 mud skipper will actually be able to jump out of the water.
Alright, anyways, to build this tank, we can pretty much get rid of all of this stuff. And that's because all we need right now are these. Although it may not look like it, inside of each of these packages is rocks. Just for some reason, they've all been individually wrapped. I don't know who did that, but I guess I gotta unwrap all these now.
20 minutes later.
Alright, there we go. Basically, I'm gonna use these rocks to lay out the foundation of the enclosure to separate the land and water areas.
So I laid some of the rocks out, but then I eventually ran into a problem.
Okay, I've just run out of small rocks while building, and the only rocks I have left are way too big. So you know what time it is. There we go.
So I continued building up the height of the rocks like this, because I'm planning on building a waterfall here with a working water flow, so the walking fish will be able to play around in it.
Now to fill in the gaps, I've got to use this spray foam to, you know, spray it. Now this is where the build gets fun, because now I get to use this little pump to make the waterfall actually work. Now to be honest, I don't really know how I'm gonna do this, but I need to somehow send water from this pump up the rock, so then it can somehow flow back down into the water area. Okay, so I guess I'll just try and use this tube that the pump came with, and try and send it up over the rocks like that. Well, I guess let me go get some water and fill this thing up so I can see if the waterfall actually works. Alright, moment of truth, let me plug this in. And it's plugged in, and wait, is it working? Kind of. Okay, this is more of just like a sewage pipe than a waterfall, but oh god, why is the water turning brown? What is going?
Since it wasn't working very well, I decided to get some more water and add that in to see if it would help.
Okay, with more water, the water pressure of the waterfall goes up a lot. Bro, what is this? Can you stop going? How is it? Okay, oh shoot, oh nah. Bro, it is spraying all around my room. Turn it off. Turn them off.
Though thankfully I found this dial on the pump that let me turn down the water pressure, and then the waterfall was actually working pretty well.
Alright, there we go.
To finish it off, I glued some rocks on the top to hide the pump, and I also drained out the sewage water because, yeah, we don't really want that. The waterfall was now complete, but this is only just the start. I have some crazy things planned for the walking fish, like building a literal parkour course for it to play on. Yeah, I am not kidding. But first, I need to finish the foundations of this enclosure, which means I need to make it look like a beautiful lake. To do that, I got a bunch of different stuff like wood, which I glued onto the rocks.
Now I've got to add the substrate. So for the land area, I'm using these black balls, which I'll put behind the rocks and sloping down the waterfall.
Finally, I put a layer of dirt on top to make it look more natural.
Now for the water area, I'm gonna keep it simple by just adding in some sand, you know. All right, the substrate's finished now, but if I'm not gonna lie, this kind of looks really bad. But the only reason this looks really bad right now is because the final step to making a beautiful lake is to add in plants. And unfortunately for me, I can't really just grab plants from outside. Okay, I don't know why I even grabbed that. Let me just put it back.
Instead, I still bought them, and yeah, I have plants now. So I spent a little while using my artistic skills to put the plants around the terrarium, and it ended up looking like this, which, you know, this looks pretty good. All right, now that that's done, it's time to add the water in again. And this time I'm gonna be a little more careful to make sure it doesn't turn into sewage water. Also, I figured I should mention this, but I'm using a water that has a very small amount of salt mixed into it, because that's how mud skippers live in the wild. So if any of the freshwater plants die, it's not my fault. Oh my god, look at this. This is literally like a paradise. There's a working waterfall, there's plants, okay, I mean, that's just normal, I guess, but, you know, it's still pretty good. And look, this is the best part. I even got a light on it that when I press this button, it will turn it to nighttime. And by nighttime, I mean it just changes the light to blue, but, I mean, you still gotta admit that's pretty cool. The base of the enclosure was now finished. Before he gets here, I'm gonna add a bunch of tiny fish inside. But before adding in the fish, I quickly poured some healthy bacteria into the water in order to let it cycle and make it safe for the fish. All right, well, it's been a couple days now. I guess let me just go get the fish, you know. I went and purchased the fish and got 4 of these mollies. Okay, the fish have been acclimating in the water for a little bit now. And to put them in the water, I'm gonna do a super cool transition. So basically when I clap my hands, they'll be in the water. 3, 2, 1. Boom! Look at that. That's a super clean transition. But anyways, the fish are in the, you know, the lake. So I got 4 fish, 3 different species of mollies. And, you know, they look pretty cool. We got like a zebra-looking one, some goldfish-looking ones, and then there's a black one. You know, these are pretty cool. And look at this. This guy's eating the sand right now. You see that? What the heck? I didn't even know they did that. Okay, wait, I'm not even gonna lie, these are actually super cool. And to make it even more diverse, I also got some Nairite snails, which will help clean algae and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty helpful. But if I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of getting bored of just these normal fish. So you know what time it is. It is time to add in the walking fish, the reason why we're all watching this video. This is the walking fish inside of this box. So let me open this thing up. Get out of here. I'm just kidding. There's nothing actually in this box. The walking fish has actually been acclimating in the water for a while, so I can already add him into his new home. Right after adding him in, the little fish started to swim all around his new water area. He even started to play around with some of the other fish. But of course, this isn't just a normal fish, it is a walking fish. And this little guy clearly knew how to do that very well. Oh my god, this guy is just walking around on land. This is so cool. Mud skippers are able to defy the law of fish because they have not only the ability to breathe through their gills like all fish, but also through their skin while it's still wet. So in fact, mud skippers will actually spend more time out of the water than in the water. So I don't really know if they can even really be considered a fish at that point, but I mean, it still looks like one. But the best part of this video is coming up now, where I'll be feeding the mud skipper all types of food, including live insects, to see which he likes the most. Then I'll build him a parkour course, and if he can successfully complete it, I'll give him unlimited of whatever his favorite food is. But of course, this little guy's first gonna need a name. So after searching through thousands of options, I came across the perfect name. This walking fish will be called Franklin, because I just feel like he looks like a Franklin. Anyways, let's feed Franklin some food to see which he likes best out of these. First up on the list, we got houseflies. Now I have 200 of them in this little container, but I only want to feed him a couple of these, so I'm gonna have to be careful that hundreds of these don't escape around my room. So I'm just gonna try my best to empty a few into here next to Franklin. And oh dang, he is going crazy. About 3 flies had dropped in, and Franklin had instantly sucked up 2 of them. But one of the flies had managed to escape onto a little leaf. But of course, I wasn't gonna let him get away, so I scooped him up and brought him over to Franklin. I will be honest though, his hunting skills did need some work, as it took him a couple tries just to eat this tiny little fly, but eventually he got it down. Clearly Franklin loves houseflies, but I wonder if he'll go for some bigger insects. So next up, I got some mealworms and got straight to dropping them in front of Franklin. This time he was under the water, but that didn't stop him, as he tried to eat the worms right away. Although there is a reason why I said he tried to eat the worms, because he failed so many times at trying to eat it.
This guy stinks!
rocks. And eventually another fish just tried to take it from him, so he just swam away. But a little later, while Franklin was chilling on the land area, I dropped another worm right in front of him, and this time he leaped onto it and absolutely devoured it.
Wait, is he going under the water with it? Wait, I think he just swallowed it whole. Dang.
While it's clear that Franklin likes mealworms, it is a little bit hard for him to hunt them, but there's still the final insect to feed him, which are crickets. And these are almost as big as Franklin's, so I don't really know if he's even gonna try and eat them, but I dropped them in anyways. The cricket started to slowly move around in the water, and Franklin definitely noticed. Franklin got into position and waited for the perfect moment to strike. And as soon as the cricket moved again, okay. Well, it turns out the cricket scared Franklin away and he just hid under the water. Well, now I know Franklin loves flies, sorta likes worms, and is just straight up scared of crickets. Well, now it's time for the best part of the video, where I'll be building Franklin a parkour course to test how good he is at jumping. Now, you might be wondering how I'm actually gonna create this, and well, to be honest, I don't know. Like, actually, I do not have a plan at all. But I guess I'll just start with something I already have, which is this plastic stuff. And I'll quickly just create some little pillars that the fish will have to jump to. Now we just gotta put these into place in the floor, and boom. Here's the game plan. There's 3 of these pillars that the walking fish will have to go from jump to jump. And if he gets to the final pillar, I'll give him unlimited houseflies to eat, since that's his favorite food. Alright, well, the course is built, so I guess I'll just wait and see if he'll complete it.
2 hours later.
So Franklin never even tried to complete it on his own. I don't really know what I was expecting. So instead, I got some tweezers and mealworms to try and bring him towards the course. But it seemed like Franklin was scared of the tweezers, so I just had to keep repeatedly dropping the food in the direction I wanted him to go in. And once he tried to eat it, I picked it up and repeated the process. It eventually worked to get Franklin over to the start of the parkour course, but this is the hard part, because now he actually has to jump from platform to platform. So I tried the same strategy of dropping mealworms, but it was taking forever. So I had to make it a little easier for him by putting some mud leading up to it. So now it's not really a parkour course, it's more just like a walk-core course. But after doing that and switching over the flies, Franklin started to make a little more progress. But this is where it got hard for Franklin, because while he could make it up to the first platform multiple times, he just wasn't going to the second platform at all. And he definitely wasn't going to go to the third platform, so I just removed that and decided if he made it to the second, then he would win the unlimited flies prize. So I continued trying to bring him there for literally 2 hours, but Franklin just kept abandoning mission on the first platform over and over.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
So to be honest, I just gave up and scooped Franklin up onto it because I still wanted to give him unlimited flies.
Yay, Franklin, you totally just did that by yourself. Now you get unlimited flies. Here you go, boy. Eat up. Eat up. Oh my god, there's so many flies. No, they're getting away. They're flying around my room.
And of course, Franklin really enjoyed those flies. If you want to see more videos about Franklin in the future, make sure you subscribe. I hope you enjoyed seeing how cool this walking fish is, and if you have any ideas about what kind of videos I should make for him, comment them. I just found probably the most alien-looking creature on Earth. It is literally a mutant creature with the mouth of a spider, the body of a scorpion, and claws that look like saws. And that's not even mentioning that it has some of the weirdest and creepiest behavior out of any animal ever. But despite how weird it is, apparently there's a website that will sell you one as a pet. After placing the order, they said they would ship it out in a few days. So in the meantime, to build the enclosure, I got out the tank and a couple big boxes of rocks. Yeah, I got a lot of rocks for this. This is because I needed them to start stacking around the outer part of the enclosure to try to make it look like a cave. You see, in the wild, tailless whip scorpions like to hide in between rocks because, I guess that's just where they feel safe. I don't really know. And to connect the rocks together, I originally tried to use my handy dandy hot glue gun and, you know, glue them, but the rocks were just too heavy and it kept collapsing over and over. Oh my gosh, these stupid rocks keep falling. Yeah, it wasn't really working, so instead I resorted to using some animal safe spray foam like always, and I covered it in a bunch of the big rocks and then a bunch of tiny little rocks, and I repeated that process on the left and right side of the enclosure. and check it out. Hopefully you see the vision I'm going for. You know, there's a cave. We're making a cave. There's rocks on the walls. Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. Now, this is a good start. However, you'd be dumb to think this is all I'm doing. I'm making this the best enclosure ever so I can show off all the cool things the alien creature can do. It's gonna be so cool to watch. Anyways, the next step is to do the floor and decorations. And for the floor, we want it to be high quality and cheap, which is why I've got a bunch of these coconut fiber bricks, which are about to expand into a ton of dirt. Seriously, these are so cool. You just add a big tub of water like this. Ooh, I'm getting that everywhere. And over time, it's gonna start to absorb that water and they're gonna expand and become a bunch of dirt, you know? And boom, look at that. It went from those boring bricks to this nice, moist dirt.
Yeah, boy.
Okay, maybe it's not that cool, but you know, it's dirt. It's pretty necessary. To top off the floor, I mixed in some wood chips, dead leaves, some moss, and a couple rocks. Now, apparently the alien creature I'm getting has the ability to dig burrows out in this dirt with its claws, but I have no idea if mine's gonna do that, so hopefully it does. That would be pretty dang cool to watch. Now, to decorate the enclosure, I got these super thin sticks and started to glue them along the top. As you can see, they kind of look like tree roots, which adds this cool effect to the build that makes it look like there's trees growing above this cave. Nice. And of course, this wouldn't be a Terra Green enclosure without some plants in here, which as you can see, I've got a few of. Now, these plants are actually super important because water droplets will gather on top of the leaves, which will easily allow the alien creature to sip them up and get hydrated, which, you know, is good. You know, we gotta make sure he can drink water and stuff. But while I was at Walmart getting the plants, I also found this absolutely majestical stone statue of an alien.
Hi, how are you?
Because, you know, we're putting a tailless whip scorpion inside of here, which is basically an alien. So yeah, I put that in to finish off the decorations. Bruh, this guy's got a big forehead. That's a real shame. Thankfully, my forehead isn't that big. Okay, the first 3 steps are all complete, but now it's time to get some technology in this enclosure to make it stand out. The first of which is this big machine right here, which can do something very cool. To get it to work, I had to fill up this container with a bunch of water, and after it was filled up, I put it back on top and finally twisted this knob right here. And now check this out. Out of the end of this tube, a bunch of smoke, as you can see, or fog, not smoke. It'd probably be bad if there's smoke coming out of it. Dang, that is actually cool. Look, it just comes out. I don't know how a machine just turns water into fog. That's pretty cool. Anyways, this is actually very useful since as long as I turn this on about once a day, it will keep the humidity levels at a good spot for this enclosure. Also, it's just cool and adds to the cave ambience, you know? And speaking of cave ambience, this next technology is gonna add to it even more. It's this super tiny Bluetooth speaker, which I buried in the dirt and covered with a leaf. With this, all I gotta do is connect it to my phone with Bluetooth, and I can play stuff like cave noises, which is pretty cool. You know, adds to the cave ambience. But of course, I don't have to make this speaker just play cave noises. I can make it play literally anything, like the most annoying sound in the world, 1 hour. What is this sound? What? This is so stupid. Okay, definitely wasn't lying. This is probably the most annoying sound in the world. I don't think the alien's gonna like this if I play this when he's in here. Okay, I get it. Can you just turn off by now? Turn off. Okay. Oh, okay. Please turn off. Please. Okay, anyways, this enclosure is finished enough to be able to add the tailless whip scorpion alien creature in here. So yeah. Well, I just went and picked up this package. It says live animals, and you know, I'm pretty sure it's the alien. Now, as you guys know, this thing is insanely creepy. I mean, I showed you that video of it literally crawling out of its skin. So this is definitely gonna be my most creepiest pet. But anyways, let's get this in the enclosure I built for it, and let's go, baby. So I got out a knife and opened the package up. And oh, here it is. Because you can't really see anything. There's paper towels everywhere. Okay, hold on. Let me open this up. I then very carefully removed the lid and paper towels to expose the alien creature. Oh my gosh. This thing is gonna jump out at me. I have no idea. I'm just gonna close the glass though. Yeah, get that closed. Thank you very much. Now, at first, it was completely still, and actually, I couldn't even tell if it was alive. But eventually, I noticed signs of movement, and then soon enough, it fully started to climb out of its container. Very creepily, it slowly made its way over to a rock to go into hiding. But it wasn't just any rock. Of course, it was the rock with the alien statue on top. Bruh. Well. I told you guys this was an alien. Only an alien would go under the rock with an alien on top of it. But anyways, as I said at the start of the video, I'm gonna be pranking my mom with this thing. But before I do something like that, let's just see what it's capable of by trying to feed it something. I don't know. Let's just put some food in here though. And after doing some research, it turns out that tailless whip scorpions absolutely love crickets. And thankfully, I always have a bag of crickets since all my favorite pets eat them. And immediately after putting them in, they actually all looked very happy. These stupid crickets really thought that this was their new home and they were just going around eating moss. Well, little did they know that this home actually belongs to my tailless whip scorpion, and unfortunately for one of the crickets, it made a wrong turn. It walked straight into the crevice of the rock that the alien creature was sitting inside. I thought for sure that that cricket was a goner, but miraculously, about a minute later, it walked out the rock unscathed. A little later, I saw the alien creature in a different spot hanging onto a wall. And just like before, a cricket walked straight up to it. And in fact, this cricket was extra stupid. He started to walk right in front of the alien's literal mouth. But for some reason, the tailless whip scorpion was not eating it at all. Okay, it's the next day and I figured out why the alien creature in here isn't eating. It's because this species is partly nocturnal, and as you can see, I just have massive studio lights shining super brightly on here. I guess he just doesn't want to eat in the light. So anyways, I want to let this guy just kind of adjust to the new home for about a week, and I guess I'll just come back then and we can do the rest of the stuff. In the meantime, here's this cool video by Aquarimax Pets of the same species eating, if you're wondering what that looks like. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyways, let's get back to the content. Okay, this is the absolute best part of the video because I'm gonna show my mom this alien creature and then I'm gonna prank her. And if you're wondering how I'm gonna prank her, just take a look at this thing. It's basically a one-on-one model of the tailless whip scorpion. And yeah, I'm basically just gonna throw it at her. She is not gonna be happy. But anyway, she's not home right now, so I guess I'll just cut to when she is and we'll show her this. Okay, you can come in. All right, so I just got a new pet, and I just want to show you it. Okay. Now come stand over here, and you can try and tell what it is. I just want you to guess what kind of pet I got.
Oh my gosh, it looks super cool. Where's it at?
Can you see anything in there?
I'm trying, my heart is.
Okay, well, it's hidden behind this rock, but...
Shut up, dude.
Do you know what it is?
No.
If you look very
Wait a
closely
second.
back under that rock, there's something right there.
Oh my god, dude, I'm scared.
For some reason, she couldn't really see it, so I gently woke it up with a spatula, and here's her reaction.
Oh my god, dude! What the heck is this?
You see that?
Seriously?
see
No,
that?
no, yeah, that's alien and mindfulness. Oh
It's an alien in
my
there.
goodness.
Anyways, I have this fog machine, so we can put some fog on it, and that's pretty cool.
That's super cool, but seriously, where did that come from?
I don't know, the space or something?
Space.
Okay, anyways, that's all I gotta show you. Do you think it's cool?
No, dude, it looks so freaking weird. Yeah, it looks like evil.
Well, it's a good thing you'll never have to see it again. Okay, bye. Now that she had seen it and left, I got the one-on-one model out and put it on my hand. This is gonna be really funny. Okay, could you come back in here? I just forgot to show you one thing.
Oh my god, dude. Dude,
wanna say
Devin,
hello
no.
to it?
No, go away.
Yeah.
You're such a jerk, that's not even real.
Yeah, it's just a piece of paper.
Oh my god.
What do you rate it out
Oh
of
my
10?
gosh. Whew, I don't know. I'm still confused.
Okay,
Devin.
bye. Okay, so she rated it in I don't know, I'm still confused out of 10, which translates to probably a 10 out of 10. So yeah, I guess she likes it and I'm gonna have to get more animals like this. I'm gonna buy 2 of these things. Let's just get this checked out. So in this video, I'm gonna build a home for them, show off everything about keeping a pet leech, and literally let them suck on my arm. Yes, I am not kidding. I'm gonna let them do that, and I might get some unknown deadly virus. This is easily gonna be my weirdest pet. Anyways, until the leeches got delivered, I got out a 20-gallon aquarium and a ton of rocks to get its enclosure built. Step 1 to make its home is to make a rock arch. To do that, I got out some water-safe spray foam and sprayed the entire left side of the enclosure, and then I covered it with some lava rocks. You see, leeches spend most of their time in the water, but they actually have the ability to crawl on land like a worm. And basically, by connecting all these rocks with foam, I was able to build an arch here that I could cover with dirt to make the land portion of this enclosure. On the land, I put some very simple decorations like a piece of wood, some carpet moss, and a small plant to complete it. Alright, the land area is looking pretty nice and small and cozy, and it's gonna be so cool to see the leeches swim onto the land so they can eat food and stuff. Oh, and also if you're wondering where I got this beautiful plant, it's of course from Walmart. Gotta keep the Chandler's tradition going, you know. Anyway, step 2 of this enclosure is to create the water portion. Now I started by getting out some of this black aqua soil stuff and putting a layer of it down because it'll allow us to grow some beautiful luscious plants in here. But first I covered the soil with a layer of sand and started to scatter giant river rocks along the bottom. I figured it'd be cool to make this place look like the bottom of a river, since that's where leeches live in the wild. To finish the river look in here, I put some smaller river rocks around, and then I put some extra small tiny river rocks around, and then I put some extra tiny small river rocks around, which aren't really rocks anymore, they're just kind of like gravel, but yeah. Anyways, now it's time for the aquatic plants. I use my artistic skills to find the most optimal location to plant each plant, and by that I mean I just put them around randomly, but after putting them all in, it actually looked pretty cool.
Alright, dang, this is actually gonna look pretty good once I add water in here. And also, it turned out really good how that rock arch makes like a little cave there. That's gonna be really cool. I guess the leeches are gonna be able to swim there or something.
Anyways, leeches are freshwater creatures, so I just filled the enclosure up with some normal water, you know, pretty simple stuff, and in no time it was done.
Alright, I'm liking the look of this a lot, but if you look at the dirt, it's absorbed the water and it's super moist and it kind of looks like mud right now. Now, because the humidity's so high right here, mold can actually grow, which is of course not good for the leeches. But don't worry, because I have the perfect solution right here.
Inside of this container, I had some little insect creatures delivered to me for step number 3, the mold cleanup crew. These are springtails, which you may have seen before, but I have a cool idea for them this time. They're basically just super tiny white insects that I guess eat mold when it grows in here. And yeah, there's tons of these things in here, so I just dumped the whole container on the land.
Alright, I think it'd be really cool to get a time lapse of these little guys eating. And since there's no mold in here right now, apparently their second favorite food is yeast, which is like a fungus or something. I don't really know. You use it to bake bread. But basically, I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit right here and we'll see what they do. I don't even know if this is gonna work.
So I waited for the springtails to absolutely devour the yeast up, and they were all kind of gathering up around it, looking like they were probably eating it. And as you can see, this part of the yeast kind of changed. I don't know if that's just because it soaked up the water from the dirt or what. I guess I only record the springtails for like 30 minutes, so it's not a very eventful time lapse, but this is what it looked like at the end. Now for step number 4 of completing this enclosure, we gotta put some technology in here like always to make it super good. Now first of all, I got out this machine, which you may have seen in some of my previous videos. Basically, when I turn this little dial, out of the end of the tube, a bunch of fog comes out. So I set that up on the side of the glass and let it run for a minute.
Dang, check this out. It completely transforms it from being kind of boring to like super spooky. And honestly, it's a little bit too much fog. Let me get some of this out of here. Okay, that's better. But you know, it's cool. Adds to the atmosphere. Leeches are pretty spooky. And you know, I'm going to be letting it stuck on my arm. It's not going to be fun.
Anyways, for the second technology, well, this one's a little useless, but it's cool.
Okay, so I was walking around Target earlier and saw these little robot turtle toys on sale for about like $8. And I think it'll just be funny to put these in the water with the leech, you know, once we add them in. But let's just test them out real quick to see what they look like. Okay, I got it. And I think you just like press these buttons and oh, okay, its arms are moving. I guess let me just put it in the water. Let's see what this thing can do. And, oh, it's moving. And it's just swimming into the glass. Okay, I guess it's kind of cool. Okay, it's not that cool to be honest. Well, let me put it on land. Let's see if it can walk on land. And, yeah, okay, can't walk on land.
Well, this enclosure is now 100% complete and ready for probably the weirdest pet I have ever got to be put inside, the leeches. So I guess just cut to when I get that package.
Alright, supposedly in this box are the leeches. I just got them shipped. I still can't believe we're going to be keeping these as pets, and I'm literally going to be letting it suck on my arm. This is not going to be fun at all, but it's going to be pretty entertaining. But hey, let's just go get these guys in their enclosure. We don't want them in their shipping box anymore. Let's go.
So I brought the box inside and opened it up.
Oh, nah, bro. The leeches are inside this little foam box. I do not even want to open this up.
Inside the box was a little plastic container with water and the leeches, which I moved into this bigger container of water. And well, here they are, my new pet. Aren't they so cute?
Oh, are you seeing this? This is so disgusting. This guy's just climbing up the side of the enclosure. They're already trying to escape.
But despite how nasty they were, I had to transport them to their new home, so I tried to scoop them out.
Okay, I got one of them up against the wall in this little container, and I'm just gonna try and scoop it up. Oh, there we go. Oh, shoot, it's not going good. Oh, no, is this thing trying to escape right now? No, this is not the time. Can you please go back in the container? Oh my gosh, it's just on my table.
But eventually I got it back in, and I was able to put both the leeches into their new home. And right after dropping them in, it didn't take long for the leeches to start swimming around and be super active. Basically, how leeches work is they mostly get around by swimming around just like this, like how a sea snake would. But on one end of their body, they actually have a little suction cup so that they can grab onto walls and rocks so they can stay still. And of course, on the other end of their body is the mouth that they use to, of course, grab onto animals with.
Okay, as you guys know, these leeches get most of their food by sucking the blood out of other animals. But before I feed them my own blood, I kind of want to fill them up just
at least a little bit by feeding them some other type of food. And apparently Google says one of the best things to feed them is raw liver from the grocery store. And I don't really have any of that, so I guess let me just go get it. So I drove over to Walmart and found some of that raw beef liver that supposedly the leeches will eat. Dang, check this stuff out. It's only $2.44 per packet of it. That's why we shop at Walmart, everybody. And it does look pretty nasty, but I'm pretty sure the leeches are gonna eat this. I don't know, let's just go home and figure out. So when I got home, I opened the packet up and got a little raw piece of liver out. All right, well, we got the beef liver right here. It's kind of nasty, I'm not gonna lie, slimy and everything. And hey, the leeches are out and about right now, so I think I'm just gonna drop it in right there. Hopefully it doesn't make the water dirty or anything. I let the meat sit there for about 15 minutes, but the leeches didn't end up finding it. So instead, I just picked it up and brought it right over to one of them. Immediately, that first one picked up the scent or something and latched onto it. So while that leech rode the piece of meat, I brought it over to the second one, and that guy immediately latched onto it too. And yeah, I just let them go crazy on it, eating it up for a little bit. Oh my gosh, these leeches are absolutely devouring this piece of meat. I gotta make sure they don't get filled up on this meat, because I still gotta eat meat. Can you guys come off, please? Oh my gosh, if they're this hard stuck on the meat, what are they gonna do when they're on my arm? I don't know, bro. This is not gonna be fun though. Alright, it's the next day and the leeches are still doing good. And anyways, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Well, I haven't been waiting for it, but I'm gonna let the leeches go on my arm now. So let me wait for my mom to get home so she can record that, and also I wanna see how she reacts to this new pet leech. Okay, Mom, you could come in now. Alright, hi.
Hi.
I'm just bringing you in here because I want to show you my new pet. Alright, so basically just look at its cage and I want you to guess what's in there.
Oh my god.
Do
Dude.
you see anything in there?
Yeah, it's in the jar.
Yeah, right there.
Disgusting.
In the
dude.
jar. I had to put it in a jar just because
Is it a centipede?
a centipede is
I
underwater.
don't know.
That's a leech.
No, dude.
A pet
Dude,
leech.
no.
Isn't a pet leech cool?
No. Is it the sucking of the blood leech?
Basic, yeah, sucks your blood. But you know, we gotta feed it.
Oh, right. I see where you're gonna go with this not happening.
Yeah, don't worry. We're definitely not gonna be feeding it anyone's blood. But I want to show you this thing you see on top. You can put fog inside.
That's neat.
But I don't only have fog. We also got some turtles.
Some little turtles.
Yeah, they just kind of move around. They're kind of cool.
Why is it in a jar like that, though?
Oh, you're wondering why it's in a jar? So basically, it's in a jar because I need to do something with it, and I need you to record me do something with it.
Oh my gosh, okay.
So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick the leech up and I'm just gonna take all the water out, and then I'm just gonna put this upside down right here. And basically I need you to take my phone and record me sucking the blood out of my arm.
No, you're not gonna do that.
Yes, I have
no,
to do
we're
it.
not, dude. Why do you have to do that?
Because I said I would do it at the start of the video.
Oh, right.
I'm just gonna take the jar and put it here.
Oh my gosh,
so it does
no.
something.
Why are we doing this?
Don't worry.
No, dude.
So this might take like a couple minutes. I don't
For
know.
it to even get out of there?
Yeah, you see how the suction cup is on the jar?
Yeah. Here, maybe I can like...
Okay, it could happen right now. It could happen right now.
No, 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 no. No!
Okay, it's biting me.
Joe, why are we doing this again?
Go back a little bit.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Okay, it's biting me right now and it's sucking my blood. I feel the blood coming out of my arm.
Oh my god,
Okay.
no. Ew.
It feels so weird.
Does it?
So basically, it's injecting like a chemical in my blood right now to make it run faster so it can suck more blood out. Oh!
Oh my god, are you serious? Is this, can it really harm you? Does
No,
this do
hopefully
anything
not.
to you?
So I don't know how to get this off actually.
No, I'm flicking it off.
No, so you can't flick it off. Okay, so the teeth are like going harder into my body. So some people feed these for like 3 hours at a time, but yeah, I'm not doing all that.
Oh my gosh, they actually let them feed your blood for 3 hours.
Yeah, you just kind of want to like trick its teeth into like scaring it, you know, so it will unbite it. All right, and just like that. Get off, get off, get off, get off,
Oh
get
my
off.
god, get up.
Ah, bit me again. There we go, just like that. It's all fine and dandy. So that's my new pet.
What? No, dude, let's just throw it in the toilet.
Okay, we're not gonna do that. Don't worry, because we got Princess Band-Aids right here to heal the wound.
gosh.
And we got some cream or something I guess you gotta put on it.
Neosporin, yeah.
Okay, so first we just gotta get the cream, put some on there like that. Maybe that's a little too much. And then we have our Princess Band-Aid, so we just take that out. Oh, I don't know who that is, but it's a very pretty princess. And boom, just like that, we just fed our pet leech.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there, you wanna try?
Nope,
Your turn.
absolutely not. No, or just throw it in the toilet.
Well, I just let a leech suck the blood out of my arm, so please subscribe, especially if you enjoyed the video. Bed bugs are tiny parasites that hide in your bed and suck your blood while you sleep. Bed bugs. Now, I don't think these are meant to be kept as pets, but hey, $20, what could go wrong? Let's just buy these. So in this video, I'm gonna build a home for them, document exactly what it's like to have bed bugs as pets, and literally feed them my own blood at the end of the video. Yes, I'm not kidding. I don't know why I'm gonna do this to myself. Anyways, until the bed bugs got delivered, I got an enclosure to build their home. Now, I'm pretty sure there's no documented case of anyone keeping bed bugs as a pet, so I figured out what they need myself. Yeah, all these supplies are for the bed bugs. Anyways, first up, I started to pour some coconut fiber dirt into the enclosure for step number 1, the floor. You see, for most of the floor, we want to use this dirt material, but that's not it. We actually want to pour a layer of sand on top of it, just like this. You see, I'm doing this because bed bugs would be almost impossible to spot if they were just on dirt, but on the sand, I should be able to see them perfectly. And I really got to make sure I keep track of every bed bug, because if they escape, let's just say I'm not going to be sleeping too well. Why am I doing this? Anyways, I finished off the floor by creating some little sand mounds in the back that I would soon be able to cover in decorations. And speaking of decorations, for step number 2, we're gonna put in the natural decorations. For those, I got out some simple stuff like cork bark, spider wood, and some gray stones, and strategically placed them around in the sand. I even stacked a few pieces of wood in this corner and covered the top in some moss to make it look like a tree. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm an expert designer, as you could tell. And all this stuff is gonna be perfect because bed bugs like to hide under tight little spaces just like these, which is also why they like to hide under mattresses. Yeah, it's pretty cozy under there. To finish off the natural decorations, I planted a bit more moss around just to add some more color and bring the whole thing to life. All right, now for the next step, it's time for the artificial decorations. And basically what that means is I literally want to build a mini bed from scratch to put in the middle of this enclosure to see if the bed bugs will prefer to hide under natural decorations or if they really just love beds. Now, of course, I'm gonna put this in the middle of the enclosure, but that's not all I'm gonna do. You see, the reason bed bugs love mattresses so much is because they smell like humans. So basically what I need to do is make this mini mattress smell like me. And I have the perfect idea for how to do that. So I got out my bike helmet, lined a little towel rag along the front of it, put it on, and started to go for a bike ride. So basically I'm just gonna ride around for like 20 or 30 minutes, and that towel I put in my helmet should absorb all the sweat, and then I could just basically squeeze it on that little mini mattress. Yeah, I'm a genius, I know. So I went on my little ride up and down some hills, you know, and when I got home, I took the rag off my helmet to see if it would work. Okay, I think there's like a solid amount of sweat on this, so I guess let me just go and try and squeeze it on top of this. Come on, just get a little bit of sweat out. Oh, shoot. Okay, wait, that's actually a pretty good amount of sweat. Dang, wait. Okay, this is kind of nasty, I'm not gonna lie. And there we go, it just kind of looks like someone peed in the bed now, but hey, this should smell like me now. Well, now that the mattress is done, it's time to move on to the final step, which is a DIY technology. Now you see, bed bugs are attracted to an air molecule called CO2 because it's the same molecule that humans breathe out. And since bed bugs love that smell so much, I'm gonna build my own custom CO2 emitter right there, and then I'll test to see if the bed bugs like go flock towards the smell. I don't know, it'll be cool though. Now to make a CO2 emitter, you first gotta get out a nice large soda bottle and pour all the soda out. Well, technically you don't have to pour it out, it's just not healthy to drink that much soda, so yeah, that's why I'm pouring it out. Anyways, then you get the empty soda bottle and fill it up with some special ingredients. First, we fill it up almost entirely with water and then add like 2 cups of sugar. And then the final step is to add some yeast in here, which is the same thing you use to bake bread. Basically, all those ingredients I just added are gonna react and do some science, and basically, out the end of this tube that I attached, a bunch of CO2 is just gonna come out, and yeah, I'm just gonna see if the bed bugs go and smell it or something. I don't know. Well, the bed bug enclosure is now finished, and that means it's time to add those nasty creatures inside and be the first person to have pet bed bugs. All right, well, here they are, the bed bugs. They literally just got delivered, so thankfully they weren't sitting in the snow too long. But as you guys know, I'm not exactly too thrilled to be keeping these as a pet because, like I said, I'm literally going to let them be sucking the blood out of my arm. I don't know why I do this, man. But let me just get them in the enclosure I built for them. So I brought them to my table, cut the tape, and lifted the flaps. Oh my God. gosh. I think they're inside of this thing in here. Okay, I guess let me just get this out. And bro, genuinely, if these things escape, my mom is going to be so mad. And speaking of escape, you might be wondering, how will I prevent them from escaping, considering the enclosure I made literally doesn't have a roof? Well, I forgot one important step, escape-proofing the enclosure. But don't worry, because I've kept ants before, and I actually got this special serum for the ants that prevents them from escaping, and I'm just hoping that it'll do the same for the bed bugs. Basically, you just get out a little cotton ball, put some of the special serum on the end, and rub it in along the top edges of the enclosure. All right, now even if the bed bugs are able to climb the glass, they're gonna climb up, and then they're gonna get to this stuff, and basically it's just super slippery, so they're just gonna slide right off. And then finally, I'm just gonna put this top on it just like that. That won't actually do anything because these holes are pretty sure too big. Yeah, the bugs could probably just fit through it, but whatever. Anyways, I got out the jar of bed bugs, opened the top of it, and dumped about half of the 10 inside of the enclosure. Immediately, one of the bed bugs started to scurry around his new home looking for cover and went straight into a dark spot under the nearest rock. But a few seconds later, I saw this bed bug, and he actually ran straight over to the little bed mattress I had made. And after crawling on it for a minute, he set up camp in a little piece of cork bark right next to it. I guess the fact that I had made the mattress smell just like me was working really well, because over the next minute, I saw 2 more of the bed bugs just chilling on the mattress too. Dang, that's actually cool how they all just went onto this little mini mattress I made instead of all the other decorations. But to be honest, I've kind of already lost track of every single one I put in. Yeah, they're just so small. But the reason bed bugs are so small is so they can go undetected while hiding in people's beds. And when they find a victim to suck the blood of, they can literally get more than double in size with how much they suck. Anyways, bed bugs are nocturnal because obviously they feed on people at night. So in order to get them to suck my arm, I'm gonna bring my mom in here at night, show my new pet to her, and then get her to film me getting bit. This is not gonna be fun, but let's just go cut to then. Okay, Mom, you can come in.
Hey, bud.
Hi. Oh, that's a cool hoodie and hat you got on. Where'd you get that?
TerraGreenStore.com.
Oh, that's cool. All right, well, come in anyways. The reason I brought you here, you haven't seen my new pet, but basically, I have another new pet to show you. Yeah, so basically, just a channel tradition, you have to guess what pet is in there based on the stuff.
I'm gonna guess. I'm thinking a spider.
A spider?
A spider.
Well, it's a bug, and I'm just gonna tell you what it is. It's, well, don't get mad at me, seriously. It's bed bugs.
No, it's not, dude.
Yes, it's pet bed bugs. That's funny.
That's not cool.
It's pretty funny. Okay.
No, dude.
Okay, so to attract the bed bugs, I built this little contraption. Basically, I just take that off, and I'm just gonna pour some of this stuff. It's yeast. But basically, this is gonna have a chemical reaction in this bottle, and after I shake it up, it's basically gonna produce carbon dioxide, which is CO2. So I'm just gonna leave this tube here, and we'll just see if any bed bugs come out, so you can see them. Wait. Do you see that?
Oh my god.
Wait. Right, no, there actually is one right there. Do you see that? It's like a little tiny orange thing.
Yes.
Oh, that's a bed bug.
Oh my god, you're so crazy.
But the good thing is you're not gonna have to deal with them because, well, I have to tell you something. You remember the other day I got a leech and I let it suck on my arm?
Yes.
I have to do that with the bed bugs.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay,
They
well-
don't feed off of your arm.
Yeah, they suck your blood.
Oh my god, they do not.
So basically I've collected about, I think, 4 of the bed bugs in this jar. Well, I just gotta roll up my sleeve, I guess, and we're gonna feed them.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so, well, I guess let me just start. We're just gonna tip the jar like that and slowly let them crawl out. Okay, there's one on my arm right there.
Oh
Let's
my
just
god,
test it
dude.
with one.
Yeah, we're just doing one.
Just
No,
two.
just do 2. Don't do any more than that.
That's okay. We need to get all 4
No,
of them.
we do not. No. Okay, put them back. That's it.
Why?
Because they're crawling and I'm not getting them anywhere else in this house.
It's okay, they'll bite me. So basically they can pick up the scent immediately of what my arm is like, and I'm pretty sure these 3 are already all biting me.
my
This
God,
one's just
dude.
the one that hasn't bit yet. Soon enough, all 4 were biting, and basically all I felt was a little bit of a prick. The pain wasn't anything crazy though. But over the next 10 minutes, my mom and I would watch them fill up with my blood. All right, so I just took the camera from you, and as you can see, I think they're starting to fill up. Is this weird?
Yeah, it's super weird. Oh, you can see them fill up with blood?
Yeah, if you look closely at their bodies, like you remember how they were super thin, now they're kind of getting a little thicker, and it should start to turn red soon. Oh, they already are actually.
Disgusting.
Oh, do you see that one?
Ew.
It's starting to move.
No.
That means it's done.
Oh my god,
So
good.
basically what you do when it's done,
All of them in the jar.
it's okay, we'll get it, don't worry. You see, basically when they start moving, that's when they're done feeding. So I put 2 of them back in the jar since they were done. Then a couple minutes later, another one finished, and then the final one a few minutes after that. All right, and then the last one is in its jar. We're done. That's
how you feed your pet bed bugs.
Oh, right. Don't ever do this to anyone.
All right, well, I just let bed bugs suck my blood for like 10 minutes, so please just subscribe. That's all I'm asking. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to watch another video, click the video on the screen. Goodbye. 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 This is an Asian forest scorpion. But right now, he's living in a pet store with a small cage, no water, and he literally just has dirt. So I'm gonna spend $500 to give this scorpion the dream life he deserves. I wanna give him unlimited food, an actual diverse ecosystem, and I even wanna simulate weather events that the scorpion can experience in the wild. So to get started, I ordered not just 1 or 2, but literally 7 packages to build the scorpion's dream home. And of course, the build is gonna have to start with our 30-gallon glass terrarium. The only problem is that it didn't come like this. I actually had to build it from scratch because apparently the people who made it were too lazy to do that themselves. Anyways, I have tons of materials to build all sorts of stuff for this enclosure. But firstly, I'm gonna create the rainforest backdrop. These scorpions live in the jungle and the wild, so I'm gonna build the jungle in his enclosure. To start this off, I need to load some silicone into my gun and cover the whole back of the glass with it like this. Then I got a ton of spider wood and put it along the back to represent tree branches. Now you might be wondering how I'm gonna make this wood stick to the back. Well, let me introduce you to spray foam. Basically, we're just going to... and boom. You might be thinking this looks ugly, and well, that's because it is. But to fix that, I'm gonna cut off some of the foam with a knife and put in some more silicone. And you might still be thinking this looks ugly. Well, to fix that, I'm gonna sprinkle some coconut fiber on it. And there we go. This is starting to look, okay. But the whole backdrop will really come to life once I fill these tiny pots that I also put here up with beautiful plants. But before doing that, we need to first design the floor portion of the terrarium. To start, we're filling up the bottom with a bunch of balls. Clay balls, to be exact. This is gonna be our drainage layer to make sure there won't be any mold outbreaks in the scorpion's dream home. Because you know, that would probably be bad. Anyways, I cut out some window screen and put that above the balls so I can fill it up with some substrate. We're gonna need at least 6 inches of substrate in order for the scorpion to be able to dig little burrows for himself. Which, if you remember, the pet store scorpion had barely an inch of dirt. He is probably so sad. So, let's finish his dream home. Asian forest scorpions love coconut fiber, so I'm mostly using that. But I'm also gonna mix in some wood chips and sphagnum moss with it to make it look more natural. Wow. But the floor wouldn't be completed without some decorations. So first, I put in some cork bark and moss, which scorpions love to hide under. I also added a little shallow water tray so the scorpion could get a nice drink of water without drowning. Finally, I sprinkled some rocks around for good measure. This is starting to look really good. Psych, it's about to look 10 times better because now I'm adding in the plants. Remember, these scorpions are from the Asian rainforest. So to replicate that, I'm gonna find the most colorful plants I can. Off to the flower shop I go. I'll be there soon. And of course, I went to the best place to get plants, Walmart.
Place your item in-
Now, surprisingly, they actually did have a few pretty nice colorful plants, so I picked out some that I liked. And I got some deodorant too, not for the scorpion or anything, you know, I just needed some. Anyways, this is what I got, and I started by adding some of the smaller plants onto the backdrop, and then I planted the rest into the floor area. The chunk of the rainforest was now complete, but while it's pretty, it's definitely not a dream home. In order to make it a dream home, we need to spoil the poor scorpion by creating custom technology in his enclosure, like a literal insect dispenser that will deliver live insects straight into his mouth, plus even more, but we'll start with the insect dispenser. Now, to be honest, I basically have 0 skills at building stuff, so I'm definitely not making some fully automatic crazy wired machine. Yeah, sorry. But what I will be doing is making a fun little slide for insects to slide down straight into their doom. To do this, I got a small acrylic tube and used some silicone to stick it at an angle to the wall. This will let me drop little feeding insects in, then watch them ride the slide of death. But to make sure there's a 0% chance the insects escape, I'm spraying some slippery Fluon stuff along the inside of it so they can't even grip on if they wanted to. I also have some other technology to put into the dream home, like this Repti Fogger. To use it, I basically just attach it to the side of the terrarium like this, and then I fill up the reservoir with water. Now when I turn it on, it does this. Wow, very cool. I mean, that's not needed or anything, but it makes the tank look really cool and rainforesty. For the final step of the dream home, I bought tiny little bugs called isopods that I'm letting loose into the enclosure.
Come on, get out. Get out.
Isopods are basically the holy grail of bioactive terrariums because they do everything from cleaning up waste to stopping mold outbreaks. I mean, the scorpion will probably eat them, but it's worth putting them in because of all of their benefits. Well, I'd say this is pretty good for the dream home. Now it's time to surprise that Asian forest scorpion. So I went to the same pet store and sure enough, it was still there, just laying there very depressingly. I'm gonna save you. And of course, saving the scorpion meant forking up $21 so I could buy it.
Let's go, baby.
Remember, I built all of this stuff for the scorpion, so I want to see how he reacts once I let him in. But before adding in the scorpion, I figured I should probably give it a name so I could stop referring to it as just the scorpion. And since scorpions are so menacing and scary with their venomous stingers and sharp claws, it's gonna need a menacing name to match. So everyone, please say hello to Sir Fluffsalot. Isn't he so cute? Anyways, I was having trouble putting Sir Fluffsalot into his new home, so I had to resort to putting on gloves because I was too scared of getting stung. Get off. No. Don't climb that. Do not climb out. Let go. Eventually, I was able to push him out into his dream home, and he absolutely loved it. Okay, to be fair, I don't know if he actually loved it, but he probably did, because he was, like, walking around and stuff. I don't know. Anyways, now I want to utilize the insect dispenser and completely spoil Sir Fluffsalot with 3 types of prey, starting with the easiest to catch, a mealworm. Mealworms will probably be pretty easy to catch, because they, like, barely even move.
Bruh.
So I dropped some down the slide of doom, and immediately the scorpion noticed. He slowly approached the stupid worms and... what? Okay, apparently he's just stepping on them and isn't even eating them.
Bruh.
Let's try the second insect, a dubia roach, and maybe he'll eat that. Roaches move around a lot more than mealworms, so this may activate Sir Fluffsalot predator instincts more. The dubia roaches scurried in towards the center of the ecosystem, right where the scorpion was resting. And apparently this roach here is extremely stupid, because he literally walked over to the scorpion and started to climb on it. Sir Fluffsalot tried to warn the roach by giving it a little kick, but the roach didn't really understand that it was standing right next to its death right now, and literally tried to climb into the scorpion's mouth. But despite all of this, Sir Fluffsalot simply did not attack or eat the dubia roach. So I did some research to try and figure out why, and oh, I'm stupid. You see, scorpions are nocturnal, so most of the day they actually spend sleeping, and typically prefer to only hunt at night. And honestly, I don't understand why scorpions get to sleep the whole day, because when I sleep the whole day, I get called lazy and unproductive. But that's besides the point. It seems like Sir Fluffsalot was just trying to get some sleep, so instead, I waited until night, and then dropped the final and juiciest prey in, crickets. Now Fluffy was ready to hunt. You may not see him now, but that's because he's sitting in his evil lair right behind a branch. I'm pretty sure he's waiting for innocent prey to stumble into a little hole he dug out right here, and then he'll kill them. Or maybe he's just still sleeping. But after a little while, a clueless cricket walked straight into it and couldn't get out. The cricket thought he was safe, but little did he know that the apex predator Sir Fluffsalot was watching his every move. When the time was right, Sir Fluffsalot leaped in and killed the cricket. Ooh, that's brutal. Fluffy now had a tasty meal for tonight to take back to his lair. The next morning, I wanted to test the fog machine with the Asian forest scorpion, so I turned that on and fog started to roll in. Honestly, I was expecting Sir Fluffsalot to react to the fog or something, but he kinda just sat there. Oh well, this machine will still be useful to make sure I can control the humidity levels and make sure the ecosystem has all the correct conditions. Sir Fluffsalot went from a tiny depressing little box to a big beautiful rainforest that mimics his natural environment. He seems to be enjoying himself, and he's gonna make a good addition to my pet collection. By the way, this is only my 4th ever video on YouTube, so if you